The Sisters of Dorley by Alyson Greaves. Read by Robin Nolan. Chapter 19. You're just someone I was forced to know. 2019, November 29th, Friday. It's the corded message chime from the two phones that wakes him, but it's the arm around his belly that causes him to jerk upright and hit his head on the wall, which doesn't do wonders for his headache, as he discovers when he opens his eyes. Even the dim red light from the strip in the ceiling feels bright. He pulls at the sheets, intending to cover his head, and finds them trapped by something, remembers the arms around his waist, and falls out of bed. The arm around him, which belongs to someone considerably stronger than him, saves him. Its owner responds to his thrashing with quiet, insisting moans and a firming of its grip. He resorts to clearing his throat. Pippa says, sounding like she prefers her arm exactly where it is. Oh, yeah, sorry, Steph, did you need to pee? She releases him, and the mattress clinks as, suddenly unsupported, he almost falls out again. No, says Stefan carefully, and rolls over to face her. Tricky, the bed isn't exactly wide, and it's a squeeze to fit two people lengthways. He settles for a strange hopping maneuver on his hip, which Pippa watches him perform, bemused. The mattress coils don't quite poke at him as hard as he expected. Pippa grins at him. Hi. What did we do last night? Oh, she snorts, then grimaces, massages her forehead. Oh, you don't remember? Look on the table. She helps turn him over again. I'll keep my hands decent, she whispers with far too much delight as she steadies his shoulder and back. And when he's in position, he sees 2 wine glasses and 2 empty bottles on the bedside table, next to his little elephant and his frog, and both their phones. Memory returns. Oh, he says. There's a 3rd bottle, discarded on its side under the computer desk where it must have rolled. The efforts made his head throb again. He closes his eyes to say, Pip, that was an outstandingly bad idea. It was fine, she says, and Steph can hear the smirk in her voice as she sits up, and still with his eyes closed, he swings his legs off the bed. I hope you can support that thesis. You're a fun drunk. No trousers. I'm amazed I was a conscious drunk. He opens his eyes again, halfway, to give him time to adjust. The only light in the room is still from the lighting strip, which Pip has changed to a candlelight yellow with an app on her phone. I wasn't exactly a drinker before, and I've had a bit of an enforced dry spell. I don't know if I told you about my dry spell? He checks, and in addition to a t-shirt, he is in fact wearing underwear. Thank Christ. Oh yeah, Pippa says. I heard some chick found you in a flower bed and thought you could use a few months' time out in an exclusive underground spa. They listened to Eddie's playlist last night, which was mostly 90s and early 2000s stuff. When they both got the message that disclosure was set for the coming Saturday, so Maria and Edie could be back in the building for it, Pippa called upstairs for a bottle and some glasses to be sent down to the dumbwaiter. No lectures tomorrow, she said, clinking her glass to his. And Maria's going to be fine. I'm letting my hair down. What hair? Stefan had said, and made to ruffle her pixie cut, only backing off when she threatened to pour white wine in his head. After the first bottle, they switched to one of Pippa's playlists. Stefan let her keep just the one Taylor Swift track, 22. It's my song, she insisted, because I'm 22. He didn't argue with the logic. At least you got some drinking practice in, Pippa says, stretching and climbing over him, out of the bed. She's dressed almost identically to him, having borrowed one of his t-shirts last night, and she pulls it off and over her head without turning around, and giggles when, freed, she sees he's turned away. Don't be silly, she scolds, and kicks up last night's dress from the floor, catching it and dropping it over her head. What if I don't want to practice drinking? Sorry, but you'll need it. Now that you're officially one of us, they're going to start roping you into our social functions. They get boozy. Yeah, Christine warned me about those. I was planning on making excuses. You know, dentist appointment, family emergency, SHU, kidnapped. Pippa says, sipping into her shoes. The classics. She dumped her dress and her shoes halfway through the 2nd bottle and climbed into bed next to him to watch a show a friend had recommended. A recent one, definitely not on the approved playlist, full of attractive people making terrible decisions. She nudged him with her elbow when a trans character, played by an actual trans woman, she hissed, came cycling onto the screen. Made him pay a little more attention, despite the alcohol complicating matters. Right now, he can't even remember what she looked like. His head throbs again. Hangover, Pippa says. Same, just chill here a few minutes and I'll get someone to send painkillers down. We need to get you a lockbox or something under your bed so you can keep stuff like that in it, she adds half to herself. He's perfectly happy to go along with her instruction to stay put, even if getting up from the bed would be an insurmountable challenge. How are you so chipper if you're hungover too? I might still be a little drunk. I finished the last bottle while you were asleep. Stefan nods, slowly and carefully, so as not to dislodge any more headache. Is it not going to be weird if one of the boys sees you leaving my room? She steps over, taps him lightly on the forehead. Nope. How many times have I come down here in the morning? Just because none of them saw me walk in doesn't mean I didn't. He floats back into the bed, twisting so he lands lengthways and doesn't brain himself on the wall again. You've thought of everything. That's why I'm the incredibly experienced, not at all winging it, Dorley graduate. I got a good grade in girl. Her impish grin and the little bounce she does to accentuate her joke made him laugh, clearly. Anything else you need before I go? Yeah, actually. He raises himself up to his elbows and tries to borrow a percentage of her energy as he voices a thought that's been worrying at him for the last few minutes. It's not weird for us to spend the night together, is it? She frowns at him, sits back down on the bed and holds on his hand until he sits up next to her. She doesn't let go of his fingers and starts rubbing her thumb along their length. Sponsors stay overnight all the time. Sure, it normally takes a lot longer for that type of closeness to build, and yeah, I'm not actually a sponsor anymore, if I ever was, but absolutely, it's normal. It doesn't happen for everyone, but Indira and Christine, for example, used to have sleepovers all the time towards the end of their first year. Ask Christine to braid your hair when it gets longer. She's really good. You said closeness, he continues. Does it ever get sexual? This isn't me asking for anything with you. It's just, I know, Steph, she says with a languid smile. And no, it's rare and highly discouraged. There's a little bit of a power imbalance. She pinches off a tiny volume with thumb and forefinger. Rather unethical. And as you know, ethics are so important down here. It's just, I had the impression that Abby and Melissa are, yes, I do. And they're complicated and very close until Melissa left anyways. And now she's elsewhere and Abby's restless. Even more so in the last few months. You're going to be okay? Yeah, I'm not super excited about another day pretending ignorance about our marriage. She squeezes him. Spend the day in your room then. Say you got a headache. Not much of a lie there. Or you could come upstairs. Like I said, you're one of us now. You're a sister. You have, within this house, as much freedom as you ask for. My advice is to start asking. I don't feel much of a sister. She kisses him lightly on the cheek. You will. When Stefan finally consents to open his door after what feels like 5 full minutes of irregular but increasingly frantic knocking, he's not surprised to find Aaron in a hoodie zipped all the way up over his head, and he's been complaining about the cold lately, most of them have, rocking back and forth on his heels and glaring up at him. Yes, Stefan says, leaning into his sleepiness. He'd gone back to sleep less than half an hour after taking Pippa's painkillers, sent down with caffeine-free tea in one of the kitchen's less funny mugs. Where have you been? Asleep? On cue, the need to yawn and stretch takes him. Indira, leaning against the opposite wall and currently out of Aaron's eye line, winks at him. I've been up since 7, Aaron says, yanking a thumb in Indira's direction. How come you get to sleep in? Indira pushes off from the wall and walks up quietly to behind Aaron. Extreme favoritism. We do it on a random rota. Keeps you on all your toes. Really? No. With a hand on each shoulder, she maneuvers Aaron to the side and nudges him towards his room. You smell like a sock. Get your washing stuff. It's shower time. Jesus. Fine. How's your head? Indira whispers to Stefan when Aaron retreats into his room and slams his door as best he can. Better now. How's Pippa? Tabby said she was riding pretty high till about an hour ago, and then she fell asleep in the security room. Face planted into a bagel. They put a blanket on her. She's fine. Good. Sorry we're not doing, the thing today. It makes sense to wait, Stefan says. And it's only one more day. I'll live. He winces as his headache lashes at him again. The painkillers are wearing off. If the hangover doesn't kill me, that is. Indira smokes at him. You'll fit right in here if you keep drinking like that. She mimes, knocking back too many glasses of wine. So Pippa tells me. Hey, you should come to the next... Whatever event she was about to invite him to goes unnamed. Aaron is back, as is his circumspection. He raises his eyebrows and his wash kit at Stefan, who takes the hint and ducks back into his room to collect his shower things. He rubs quickly at his face as soon as he thinks he's out of sight and decides he can probably get away without shaving. He hasn't gone a day without it since Pippa moved him out of the cell, but he has to admit there are days when it's mostly ceremonial. Have fun, Pippa shouts at them as they close the bathroom door behind them. Aaron flinches again. So, Stefan says while they undress, how do you like your new sponsor? God, Aaron says, dropping his underwear on the pile of clothes. True to recent form, he faces away now that he's naked. Just don't. That good? Steph, she's dragged me up the fucking wall. Oh? She's so... I don't know. Aaron ducks under his water and Stefan, after taking a moment to check he's set the temperature properly, turns away to hide his smile. Christine's talked about Indira's methods, how in the early days she had a way of weaponizing niceness, which disarmed all the terrible things that Christine wanted to say to her. Didn't stop her saying them, obviously, it just kind of compounded the guilt she felt afterwards. They washed together in silence. It's becoming difficult to predict Aaron's moods. For all his insistence that the drudgery of life down here has flattened his responses to the changes his body's been forced through, it's hard to believe he's not bothered by them. Sometimes the boy is his familiar self, the chatterbox, the wind-up toy whose stream of consciousness and endless innuendo can only be interrupted by food, sleep, or a good movie. Sometimes, like now, he's quiet, keeping even his eyes to himself. Stefan imagines him in his time alone, examining himself, repeating himself the mantra that it's just gynecomastia or something like it. That the swelling in his chest can only go so far, that it'll go away on its own or be removed. Comforting lies, Stefan's poisoned gift. Stefan lets him have his quiet. It's the last day of this. Tomorrow the sponsors kick over the board, reveal the game the boys have really been playing this whole time, and everything changes. What's with the name, anyway? Aaron asks, breaking the silence, and handing his conditioner bottle to Stefan. He squeezes some onto his hand and starts massaging it through Aaron's hair. What do you mean? Steph. Everyone calls you that now. Where's he going with this? Stefan is kind of a mouthful, don't you think? I never liked it. Makes me feel like I'm back at school when the teacher calls you up to the front of the class. Yeah, but isn't Steph kind of girly? Steph tells the honest truth. Nobody's ever mistaken me for a girl. Aaron snorts and mutters under his breath. What? Stefan says, nudging him. Oh, just nothing. I'm wondering how it started. You being Steph, I mean. My friend, the one who went away. Stefan briefly stops rubbing conditioner into the tips of Aaron's lengthening hair. Even with everything he knows, and even though it won't be forever, her absence eats at him. She called me that because the very first time they met, she saw Stefan wince at his full name and somehow intuited he might prefer something else. It's bred from her. Melissa, right? Right, your first crush. Stefan pokes him in the back of the neck to reprimand him and suggest that Aaron can go back to his own shower now. Gross. She was like my sister. My much older sister. Aaron starts washing his undercarriage, leaning his head away from the water stream. It's taken weeks of patient nagging to get him to understand that conditioner doesn't do anything if you immediately rinse it out. And from what Stefan's observed of the Dorley girls, most of them keep their hair long. Those still in the program are probably under instructions to do so, come to think of it. So this way Aaron will at least not have to deal with tangles alongside his forcibly applied new gender. What was she like? The smile comes automatically. Kind, Stefan says, and smart. Really smart. I'd have done terribly in all my science subjects without her help. Because the memory of the supermarket invades him again, he continues with that meaning to. And pretty. So fucking pretty, Aaron. Sounds like you did have a crush. No. I wanted to be like her from the moment I saw her again. She was just so fucking pretty. Hard not to notice. You miss her. He turns away, washes himself below the waist, directs his flattening mood at the task. Like a part of me rotted away. Yeah. How long did you know her? Since I was 10. Rinse away the soap, wash the feet, be methodical, be a machine, be absent. She left when I was 14. You never said why she left. I never knew. Aaron leaves him alone after that, and Stefan finishes up. But after they're both toweled and ready to leave, he shyly grabs Stefan's forearm, stopping him by the sinks. His hand, damp against Stefan's wrist, trembles a little. This must be hard for him. I'm sorry. he says. About Melissa. I told you about Elizabeth, yeah? I knew her for no time at all compared to you. And Melissa, but I still miss her every day. People say it gets easier, Stefan says. I'm still waiting. Look, Aaron says, I'm fucking terrible at this, but I'm trying to express sympathy and empathy and all that shit, so fuck it. Stefan interrupts him by pulling on his hand and dragging him into a hug. Aaron squeaks in surprise and stiffens like a lost creature, freezing to protect itself from unknown predators, but when Stefan whispers, thank you, he relaxes and loops his arms around Stefan's back. I never found her again, Aaron says. I lost her number, never knew her last name. I've been worrying lately that maybe she looked for me. Maybe she found me. Maybe she heard about what I did. Decided she wants nothing to do with me. Stefan wants to say that she won't find him in here, that he can look for her when he leaves, that they could see each other again, but that's a lie too far. He hugs the boy more tightly instead. Later, at their delayed breakfast, they discover their usual Weetabix has been augmented by a cellophane-wrapped variety pack of cereal, sitting in the middle of the dining table on a wooden tray, along with porcelain bowls, metal spoons, and blue top milk. Over his Cocoa Pops, Aaron talks about much, but does not mention Melissa, Elizabeth, or the hug. 2019, November 30, Saturday. Getting up before the sun sucks, but today's the big day. Disclosure. All hands on deck. And with Maria delivered back to her room yesterday evening, even Eddie, still nominally on leave, is making herself available. As the new head of network security and as Steph's friend, Christine can't sit this one out. And she's got a slide presentation to prepare for Monica. She slips out of bed, lifting Paige's hand off her hip and kissing her silently on the tip of her nose. Showers quickly and dresses quietly. She picks clothes she can move in easily. A loose blue dress with a few handy pockets, leggings, trainers, and a white belt. She wants to be unrestricted in case things kick off. It's not likely, not unless Adam, Aaron, or Martin have an undiscovered propensity for non-vehicular violence, but it's not impossible, and they're doing things by the book now. She slips the taser she was issued into the largest pocket, grateful that Paige is still asleep. She hates that Christine has to have it, hates that it was even in the room, a reminder of their past, other people's present. Simple makeup. Her skin looks okay today, so she skips foundation and just deepens her naturally pale lips and adds a little eyeliner. She pulls out the scrunchie she wore in the shower, takes one look at her hair and puts it back in, pulling out a few more strands around her face and leaving the rest up. Doesn't look spectacular, but it's fine enough. They're supposed to look at least somewhat aspirational. Sorry boys, you're going to be girls, but at least you can be pretty girls like us, but fuck it. Perhaps Christine can be the role model for the girls who probably should have just washed their hair this morning. Why'd I take this job? She asks herself, and Paige answers in her sleep with such a sweet and gentle grumbling that Christine has to force herself to get her laptop and leave the room immediately before she succumbs to the urge to just climb back in with her, forget about disclosure, forget about Steph, and tell Aunt B to take her salary and shove it. $20,000 though, net, and no rent or bills. A safety net for the two of them, over and above the stipends they expect. She closes the door and creeps down the corridor to the kitchen, aiming to fill herself with coffee before she has to face another human. She dumps her computer on the table and starts checking over the new intake files, assembling old photos and records and dates back into slides. Irritated herself for not doing this yesterday, but Paige had brought some new dresses around to show her, and one thing inevitably led to another. At least the task is brainless. She's on her second cup and finishing off a bowl of cereal when her phone chimes. Vicky. Hey, Tina. Won't be around much for a bit. Lorna and I are taking some time together. Straight home from lectures, staying in at the weekends. There have been some big talks. Oh shit, babe. Anything you need, shout. I'm here for you. We all are. Thanks. I'm so fucking scared. This goes way beyond the Vrenla vaccine thing. She's been noticing things for a while, and I have to pretend to be baffled and gaslight the shit out of her while inwardly crapping myself, looking back on everything I've ever done and said around her, trying to work out if any of it betrays the big fucking secret. She even brought up the donation. The very large and completely anonymous donation that put her FFS fund over the finish line. She must have been thinking about that for ages. Tell me there's nothing to find there, please. It's watertight, Vic. Processed through our most anonymized payment lines. You would have to be a state-level actor to trace it back to us, and even then I wouldn't give you high odds. If you have friends in high places, you can really get fucky with finance. Does she have any ideas about who sent it? I don't think so. Not anymore. She asked if I knew. I said no, and that was a whole conversation. We got into my family, my school, everything. All the stuff about me that's fake as shit. It's like she's gone through my whole life, Tina, looking for the cracks. Tina, I'm all cracks. Did you stick to your MPH? She asked about my scars, Tina. My GRS scars, my fucking labia. I didn't even think they were there, visible enough. I can barely see them in the mirror with the torch on my phone, and I know what to look for. Shit. Damn right shit. And yeah, I fell back on my MPH. I could practically see those laminated fucking MPH sheets I spent all that time memorizing. Good. Those are unimpeachable. I know, Tina. Right, sorry. It's just, I'm so scared. She tells me she still loves me. And that word, still, in there, it won't stop echoing in my head. It means that she knows there's things she has to forgive. It means... shit. It means she doesn't see me as the same person she used to. I'll always be someone who lied to her now. She keeps telling me she still loves me. It's like, not like she's trying to convince herself, like she really does love me. But it's clearly she doesn't trust me anymore. Maybe it's too many lies all at once. Maybe I sound different when I'm talking about the last year or so. Or when I'm listing off all the fake bullshit I'm supposed to pretend is my life. Maybe I sound like a liar every time I open my fucking mouth because I am one. She's everything to me. The most special girl in the world. And I'm scared I'm just going to lose her. I'm scared she's going to decide I'm too broken, too untrustworthy and just leave. All I want is to tell her everything and I just can't. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. Do you want me to tell one of the senior sponsors about this? Maria's back. She might have an idea. No. Keep those people out of it, especially Maria. If I have to ask them for help, I will, but not yet. Please say you won't say a word, Tina. Please keep this between us. I won't say a word. I promise. Thank you. She's out of the shower. No more texts. I have to delete everything. Christine drops the phone on the table and turns her attention back to her coffee, trying to put her worries about her friend out of her mind. She won't do anything without permission, especially not since it was her slips that kicked all this off. Even if it was, apparently, something that's been festering with Lorna for quite a while. Does Lorna suspect her? They've been nothing but friendly with each other, but Christine's hardly an expert on her. For all that Vicky is one of her best friends, her girlfriend, her future wife, if they can weather this and Vicky gets her wish, is still mostly a stranger. Hey, someone says from the doorway, mind if we come in? It's Julia, which means Yasmin's probably either around the corner or still getting dressed in one of their rooms. Christine hadn't seen either of them for weeks. They keep away from their sisters as a matter of course. She's pretty sure one of them must have gotten a hold of the lecture schedules and worked out times to duck in through the front door and up the stairs to the second floor without being spotted. It's not my kitchen, Christine says, and realizes how she sounds. Sorry, bad morning. She picks up and waggles her phone by way of explanation. Julia sets about preparing some kind of egg dish on the corner hob with onions and red peppers. Doesn't take long for the smell to make Christine regret her choice of Weetabix. That's an early breakfast, Christine says after a while. Julia nods. You, going out today? Nope, I'm here all day, Julia replies in the hesitant manner she uses when she's concentrating on something and which ignites in Christine a brief spark of nostalgia. The last time she heard it, they all lived underground together and Julia was training her voice in the echoey acoustics of the dining room. But Yas is on call, so she wiggles her fingers. You work it out gesture. Hey, Yasmin says, appearing on cue around the corner, kissing Jill in the back of the neck and slumping into a chair opposite Christine. Long time. Yeah, Christine says. Awkward, sure. The few times she's seen Christine and Yasmin and Julia recently, they've exchanged smiles and hellos. A vast improvement. But that's been more or less it for the past year. Not really a foundation on which to build a rapport, or even have a conversation that doesn't make Christine cringe with inadequacy. The two of them have been in a stable relationship since the first year, and in work since their major restrictions were lifted. Christine feels adolescent around them. Julia, her back turned to both of them, continues to cook. Yasmin props herself up on her hands and stares at Christine, chewing on her lip, thinking. Christine doesn't squirm under the examination, but she wants to. She pays attention to her coffee instead. So, Yasmin says eventually, I have to ask your advice. Christine blinks away her surprise. Oh, sure. Me and Jules, we should have graduated by now, right? You think so, don't you? Both Yasmin and Julia are, as far as she's been able to tell, model examples of the women Dorley aims to let loose on the world, and she's been at a loss to understand why they're still kept here. Sure, in most previous intakes, the third-year girls have stayed on until the end of the third year, but with the loosening of guidelines across the board has taken effect here, too. Vicky, graduating in 2 years. Paige, and now Christine, sponsorless. Jody, socializing extensively with people from outside the program. It's sobering to realize, as Christine suddenly does, that she's on course, out of everyone in her intake, to become the least likely to ever leave this place. No, she's going to leave. Her and Paige, growing old together, somewhere away from here. Yes, she says, definitely. Well, Yasmin says, still watching Christine's face carefully, we finally found out why we're stuck here. Identities and accounts held hostage. Be careful, Yas, Julia says. We were supposed to work it out for ourselves, Yasmin continues, but of course we didn't because it's stupid, just like their extracurricular crap. We're supposed to socialize. Oh, but you do socialize, right? You have whole lives away from Dorley. You just don't hang out from anyone here, which is valid. Thank you for your approval, Julia says. We have lives, but we don't have friends. We have co-workers, and we have whatever you lot are to us. Christine, through her shrug, attempts to communicate that her lot can be taken or left as one pleases. They told us we have to spend time with you, Julia says. Sally and Lisa, gang up on us as usual. We're insufficiently socialized. And we said, like you, that that's bullshit. It's not like, okay, so no offense, Christine, but I don't especially want to hang out with you or Paige or Vicky or anyone in your circle. None taken. You didn't exactly make it easy for us down there, Julia says. It's a bit difficult not to remember that, just like looking at you. Christine frowns. We mostly left you alone, I thought. Exactly. It was always you three and Jody. And even when she broke off to spend more time with Donna, it was still always you three and us at the periphery. And Craig, I suppose, before they killed him. He washed out. We don't know. They might as well have killed him. Not that I miss the guy, but that's not the point. We shouldn't have to spend time with a bunch of sponsors or the girls who ignored us when we were getting tortured and reshaped just to go free. We're ready now. Yasmin. Julia, once again. How much socializing did they say? Julia waves a dismissive hand. Not much. They're not requiring you to come out clubbing with us or anything. No. So just switch to using the downstairs kitchen for a bit. Eat lunch in the dining hall at weekends. Paige and I are usually around. Jody too. So there'll be people you know, even if you don't like us very much. It's not that we don't like you, Desmond says. We just, you were there for the worst part of our lives, Julia says, dropping a plate in front of Yasmin and sitting down next to her. And you didn't help. Sorry, Christine says. I was a mess back then. We all were, but I should have. The past is past, Yasmin says, and chews on her breakfast for a bit. It smells amazing, and adds, perhaps we can come down for lunch today. See how it goes. Thought you were on call. It rarely amounts to anything, and if it does, I can usually handle it remotely. Oh, shit. Actually, Christine says, today might be a bad time to come down for lunch. They're doing disclosure today, and Yasmin drops her fork and sits back in her chair. Fuck's sake, she says. This is exactly why I didn't want to do this. You can't spend 5 minutes around a sister without getting sucked into all this bullshit again. That's what this requirement's actually about, is to gaslight us. That word again. What do you mean? Christine asks. We're loners. We have each other, and that's all we've ever needed. But you know what that means? We have no ties here. No reason to think fondly of this place, and that's unacceptable. So they want us to spend time with you. Okay, fine, not actually with you, but you know what I mean. And start seeing this place through the eyes of the program. See the first and second years that come up. Understand the sponsor point of view. Stop viewing our lives, our experiences, our memories of what was done to us through our own framing and start adopting Beatrice's. She picks up the fork again and stabs the air with it. Stop thinking of the rest of you as just the people we were tortured next to and start thinking of you as our sisters. She spits the word with a sneer. The family that stays together stays together. Christine winters. She's seen a mug like that. Yes, They're just such manipulative bitches. They want us thinking that our torture and our mutilation is purely administrative, with nice innocent words like disclosure bandied around to mask what's actually being done, revealing to a group of vulnerable boys ripped out of their lives and taken captive that they're going to be held against their will for the next 2 years. Their bodies are going to be taken from them and ripped apart, and that their minds are next on the chopping block. It's fucking yes, please, Jules, Yasmin says sharply. She's not going to tell on me, are you, Christine? Christine shakes her head. No, yes, the cameras. Yasmin throws her fork down again. Shit, Sally's going to be annoyed with me again. Just a moment, Christine says, picking up her phone and loading the app. She almost loads her old custom app. Legitimacy is a difficult habit to instill, but she chooses the correct one and waits impatiently for the feeds to load in. What are you doing? Being manipulative, Christine thinks. Out loud, she says, want to see? She pulls out a chair and swings it around to the table, and sitting down again at right angles sits at Yasmin and Julia. Close enough that as she angles her phone, they can see well enough. As they watch, she calls up the last 5 minutes of footage, scrubs around in it to show Yasmin and Julia entering the kitchen, defines a start and end point, and tags it corrupted footage. A tap sends it to the archive. Another puts all the second floor cameras into a full reboot cycle. Christine, Yasmin says. Christine wags a finger. Not done. Now she loads her custom app, finds the archive footage, and scrambles it. There, she looks up, grinning to a pair of confused faces. See? Someone on the inside is your friend. How come you can do that? Yasmin asks, half accusing, half astonished. I took a job here. Head of network security. B and Maria have been really unsubtle about how badly they want me to be a sponsor. This way, I get them off my back, I make some money, I don't end up in the basement next year telling some poor lad I'm going to cut off his balls. Her smile widens. But I've also had control of pretty much the entire network for a while now. Long before I took the job, I had a whole suite of tools for fucking with the surveillance here. The door locks too. Wait, she says, just gesticulating for a fork again. You're doing tech support for Dorley. You're in charge of it. Yep. Do you know how much you could make in the private sector with those kinds of skills? Is it better than $20,000 after tax, no rent and bills for a brand new hire with no relevant qualifications? I mean, no. Okay, wow, after tax? Hey, I saw this job first. No, sure, no worries. We wouldn't want it anyways. Yasmin smiles at Julia. We're out of here as soon as they let us. I have to ask, Christine says, cupping her mug in both hands to still her fingers. What she's about to say feels uncomfortably true believer. And I mean, my job requires me to ask. You're not security risks, are you? Hey, you said you wouldn't report us. I did, and I won't. And you're obviously ready to leave. Have been for ages. You deserve your lives. So if you let me, I'll argue for that. Officially. I'm on payroll now, after all. You should talk to Indira as well. She'll listen, and we can both bring your case to B. All I ask that is that when you leave, you move on. Forget about this place if you need to, but the people I love are tied to it. And one way or another, and as much as I want to take all of them with me when I go, I'm fairly sure that's not going to happen. So losing any of them to someone else's grudge, don't worry, Yasmin says. All we want is to move out. Anyone who tells on this place will become the most newsworthy person in the world anyway. And that's unpleasant enough for regular people, let alone people like us, people with histories. You're really planning to leave? Yasmin asks. I assumed you'd stay forever, actually. Nope. I'll probably stay here while I finish my degree, since Aunt B seems to want to throw money at me, and Paige and I can get a double room up on the 5th floor and still pay no rent. But when I graduate, Saints, I am leaving. For where? For what? I don't know, she smiles. My future's with Paige, and the family I made here, it's not with Dorley itself. Good for you. We have another reason to keep the secret anyway. We heard about the trans girl. No matter how mad we might be at the rest of you, we would not want to hurt her. Christine laughs. Yeah, Dorley's first innocent. How's she doing? Yasmin asks. I've been sort of worried about her. Is she okay? The basement is still bifurcated. Split population is the official Dorley term, with Will, Araf and Ollie living out of the cells for now. The plan is to keep them confined for the time being with minimal entertainment but no other punishment until they've gotten over themselves. And while the cells aren't quite as austere as they were when Stefan first woke up in one, Having been reconfigured for a longer stay, Pippa described a nicer mattress, voice control over the lights, and a tablet. They're still not exactly pleasant places to spend weeks or months at a time. When it's time to rejoin the rest of them, Stefan imagines Will, Raph, and Ollie will be less likely to try anything, lest they find themselves sent right back to the cells. Difficult to care about them right now, though. It's disclosure day, at last. The four of them, him, Aaron, Adam, and Martin, are spaced out in the common room, one at each of the metal tables, feet tucked under the seat, separated and more or less immobilized. Their sponsors stand at their sides, tasers cupped in ready hands, with Edie back for Adam, but Indira still standing in for Maria. At the edges of the room, also with weapons ready, stand almost as many sponsors and other Dorley girls as had appeared after Will attacked Maria. No Paige, but Christine sits on the sofa by the door, laptop balanced on her crossed legs, frowning at the screen. She shoots Stefan a grin when none of the other boys are looking and waggles her fingers in greeting. They've been positioned so they're facing the doors into the dining room, and that's where Monica comes from. All smiles, carrying with her a stool that Stefan recognizes from his brief glance into the rooms on the first floor basement. She drops it, sits down with heels resting on the bottom rung, and places her hands carefully in her lap, a sitting position from which she can quickly and easily stand up and step away. Wise, after Maria. "Good morning," Monica says, looking around at Stefan and the boys like a substitute teacher greeting the class after that the other teachers warned her about. It's time for the big speech, but first a reminder, violence will not be tolerated. If you attack your sponsor or any other employee, there will be consequences. If you attack each other, there will be consequences. I believe Edie summed up our institutional attitude as, "We will bury you in the woods." Edie nods, embarrassed, and pats the back of Adam's head. "Absent that, you must understand that we are not offering you a choice." And, she laughs cynically, "we're not accepting comments or criticism at this time. There are two ways to leave this place. Complete the program or wash out, whether through resistance or violence." Any questions, though, before I begin? "Define resistance," Aaron says. "Do we get to, complain about shit, or are you just going to delimb me and bury me in 5 bin bags the minute I raise my voice?" "You can yell and scream and complain as much as you like later. Just keep your hands to yourself." Anyone else? No? Okay. Monica leans forward on her stool, hands clasped in front of her. By now, you'll have noticed certain changes in your bodies. Perhaps you feel the cold a little bit more than you did. Perhaps you've become more sensitive in some areas and less in others. These changes are deliberate and there will be more to come. You remember your goserelin implants? Those have been suppressing your testosterone since you first arrived. It's a procedure we've used in other years with male intakes to reduce aggression, but our success with them has been mixed. In fact, in all the years Dorley has been operating as a rehabilitation facility, Aaron snorts and Indira reaches out without looking and slaps him on the shoulder. We have had considerably poorer treatment outcomes with male intakes than our female intakes. Put bluntly, the endemic of violence of toxic masculinity is extremely difficult to cure, and we have been forced to wash out the majority of our subjects. So this year, in the interests of being humane, we're trying something new. Monica pauses to let the boys' minds race. So far, this is everything Stefan expected. Pippa explained they prefer every intake to believe that they're the first ones in Dorley's history to be feminized, lest the boys in question draw the correct conclusion about their sponsors. It's crucial, Stefan read in the guidelines, for the boys to feel like their only allies, the only ones who can understand their plight, are each other, to bond under the attractive boot heel of the sponsors. Only later, when the subject is at their lowest, will the sponsor reveal that it was just another ruse, that she too was once the same. She will present herself as proof that a future, family and friends all await if only they can push through. But at least Stefan won't have to pretend about most of it anymore. In addition to your testosterone suppression, Monica continues, for the past month we have been administering estrogen in appropriate doses. We intend to continue this regimen indefinitely. Another pause, punctuated almost immediately by Aaron attempting to stand and hitting his knee on the underside of the metal table. "You fucking what?" he yells and starts trying to untangle his legs. For what purpose, Stefan can't imagine. Indira puts a hand on his shoulder. "Sit." No, he tries to shake her off. You're not going to fucking sit, Indira repeats. I will not tell you a third time, Aaron Holt. And if you don't return to your seat right this instant, I will make you sit down. He doesn't immediately comply, but he does stop struggling against her grip. All right, he says to Indira, then puts flat palms on the table to steady himself to lean forward and address Monica. You're not serious. Estrogen? I am completely serious, Monica says. Stefan wonders if any of the boys have noticed the edges of a smirk playing about her mouth. As I said, you will have noticed some physical changes already. They are not caused by testosterone suppression alone, as I know some of you have speculated. These changes will continue. We have informal pamphlets should you wish to educate yourself fully. She gestures at a small pile on the cabinet nearest the TV. Stefan, twisting to look, turns his laugh into a cough. The pamphlets have NHS branding. Indira uses Aaron's moment of paralyzed outrage to push him back into his seat. He lands with a surprised squeak and glares at her. Held down by her, he can do nothing but complain. Steph, why aren't you helping? What would I even do? Stefan says, remembering at the last moment to push a scowl onto his face as if he's equally angry. He points around the room. Taser, taser, taser! Room full of big guys with actual guns somewhere. I don't mean fight, Aaron says. I mean fuck. I don't know. Why not get Pippa to help? You have this whole psychosexual thing going on with her. It's called having a friend, Aaron. He hits the table. Then why isn't she, as your friend, stopping this? They're making us into fucking girls, Stefan. That's what estrogen does. How do you know that? Aaron looks like he's going to hit the table again, and Stefan has to admit he's probably pushing the pretense of ignorance a little far. Have you ever been online? Estrogen is what trans women take. It's what makes them women. Actually, yes, Aaron interrupts. Yes, Jesus fucking Christ, I know there were women already. Is that really the point? You should always endeavor to be accurate. Oh my fucking... You see, Steph, you see what she's like. It's like I'm being menaced by a pedantic primary school teacher. Monica claps her hands to force all eyes to return to her. Are you done? She says. Not even remotely. We can escort you out, put you in cuffs in your room, and leave it to Indira to give you the rest of the information if you'd like. Fuck. No, fine, I'll be quiet. Tell us your plans for us, Monica. She frowns at him, irritated but not unsettled by Aaron's reference to her former charge. Before I continue, you should know we did not come to this decision lightly, nor were you chosen at random. Some of you are here because you've hurt people very badly, and because others in your lives were on harmful because your lives were on harmful trajectories. Aaron, since you've chosen to be so vocal, I believe we'll use your case as the example. Christine? 1 second, Christine says. Stefan glances over. She's tapping at the screen of her laptop, biting her lip in concentration. There. When Christine hits a key on her computer, the TV clicks on, showing a picture of Aaron, taken sometime before Dorley snatched him. He's at a bar, not one of the ones on campus. Perhaps this was taken in his hometown, and he's drinking from a half-empty bottle of light beer. His hair's shorter, and he's wearing a suit jacket over a loose shirt. Stefan wants absurdly to protect the boy in the photo, warn him what's coming, make him change his ways. Pippa steps closer and squeezes his upper arm. With all the boys staring at the TV screen, he feels safe to reach up and take her hand, just for a second. Aaron Holt, 21 years old, as a July geology student, prolific harasser of women. Do we really have to do this? Aaron asks. He's not looking at the screen. You have, I believe, extensively covered the topic of your dick pics with your peers, so I won't go into much detail except to note that your expulsion from Saints was countermanded by your parents without any hint of actual disciplinary action. A large donation, forming the last leg of funding required for what is now probably going to be called the Aaron Holt Memorial Tennis Court. Be proud, Aaron. Your name will live on. Christine, next please. Another tap on her computer, and Aaron's photo shrinks into the top left corner, replaced by an unfolding list of dates, events, and pictures of women. Monica points at the screen. These women were spared the indignity of your penis, but did not escape your other avenues of harassment. Most of it surprisingly chaste, but all of it rather misogynist. We don't even know what some of these women did to piss you off, Aaron, but there are rather a lot of them, aren't there? Stop it, Aaron mumbles, resting his head in his arms. Stefan knows he has something to say here, a knife to twist. Aaron, he says, there are so many. Shut up. I know. Indira pats him on the shoulder and leans down. It'll be over soon. Next, Monica says. More dates, more events, more pictures scrolls on the screen. Next, the list updates again. Stop it, Aaron says. Next, here's the list of the websites we pulled off your laptop, your phone, and your mobile provider. Notice a theme? Monica waves her hand at the screen, and Stefan does notice a theme. When Abby and Christine called Aaron an incel, they hadn't realized they were describing him so accurately. Next, stop it, Aaron yells, pushing Indira off his shoulder and glaring red-eyed at Monica. I get it. Next. He bangs his fist on the table in time with his chant. You have every bad thing I've ever fucking done up there. Not just that, Monica says. We also have this. Her voice is a little softer and the screen flickers again and it shows a list of incidents from his boarding school. Aaron's name is in the victim column this time, opposite the kinds of names that are destined to accumulate the inherited honorifics as their owners age. Bullying, intimidation, theft, 7 assaults. 3 of them. Stefan looks away from the screen. We have more, Monica says. Incidents dating back to primary school where you switch back and forth between aggressor and victim. Fuck you, Monica, Aaron says, as if you're trying to say I am the way I am because I got bullied in school. Fuck you. No, Aaron, you are the way you are because your worst traits have been encouraged every step of your life. Neglectful parents, poor role models, people who hurt you and encouraged you to hurt others. And the one true friend you had, she left you. Aaron, looking at the table again, sticks his middle finger up in Monica's rough direction. You don't have to be this way, she continues. You never did. You're bright, quick-witted, you're capable of empathy, but you were failed, repeatedly. Taught to be impulsive rather than wise, resentful rather than thoughtful, never offered better options or a better way to behave, shown only loneliness, violence, and an extremely unhealthy view of women. She nods at Christine, who returns the screen to its starting configuration. And we know what happens to boys like you. Left alone, you implode or you explode. You go quietly or you go very, very noisily. And I know you hate looking at that screen, Aaron, and seeing everything you've done in one place. Well, you're only 21. How much longer will those lists be in a year? In 2, 5. Imagine yourself at 30. Do you even recognize him? How many people has he hurt? How badly has he hurt himself? She lowers her voice. Is he even still around? Fuck you, he says again, dropping his head back into his folded arms. We've been taking in groups of troubled and troublesome people into our care for a long time now. Our aim is always to reform, provide resources, map out alternative ways to live life, to find people who are on the edge of atrocity and bring them back. But we have been, as I said, considerably more successful with women than with men from the very start. In fact, we've tried many different methods with men, trying to replicate our results from the women. Nothing works. As a society, we're too ready to forgive men, cisgender white men, it has to be said, for any harm they might commit, especially if they are of means. And you, Aaron, and I do genuinely apologize for signaling you out again, are a textbook case for failure. A white, cisgender man with money, looks, charm, and appalling habits. You'll keep getting away with it until eventually either you can't live with yourself or someone else doesn't survive you. I can change, he whispers. Can you now? What would you be doing right now if we hadn't taken you in? Be honest. I can change. I want to change, but you won't. This country won't let you. Have you by any chance heard of Charlotte Church? And Monica launches into a spiel that's almost word for word identical to the one that Beatrice subjected Stefan to, which leaves him free to tune her out and concentrate on Aaron, quivering in the nest of his forearms, stripped and laid bare by Monica's evidence against him, by her confidence and the inevitability of his recidivism, by her mournful enumeration of his failings. Around the halfway point, Indira waves to get Christine's attention and beckons her over. Christine puts down her laptop, pulls a taser out of her pocket with visible distaste, and stands where Indira stood. Indira sits on the chair next to Aaron, joins him in his space, and circles him around his shoulders with one arm and his hands with the other. Christine looks at Stefan and mouths, "Are you okay?" He nods. He's not sure if he actually is. It's hard to watch Aaron go through this, but harder still to see Aaron's victims. There really were a lot of them. This year, Monica says, finishing up, we have decided Finally, in accordance with the data we've been collecting for almost 2 decades, to rehabilitate you as males would be to abandon you. So we're trying something new. At his table, Martin, heretofore silent, snorts and shares a look with his sponsor, Pamela. She rolls her eyes at him, displaying only an echo of the disdain that Stefan remembers from the last time she saw them interacting. But that was weeks ago. Things change, apparently, including Ella's disgust for her charge. Things change, including all the boys. Excuse me, Adam says. He's raising an arm and supporting it with the other hand, as if he thinks he might have trouble holding it aloft without help. Behind him, Eddie rubs his shoulders. By something new, you mean with the estrogen and the goserelin, Aaron supplies, muffled by his arms. Yes, Monica says, before Adam can continue. Rather than resign ourselves to another pointless year of failed male redemption, we're going to rehabilitate you as women. How far will that go, please? All the way. All the way. All the way. Adam stiffens for a moment and says so quiet that Stefan can't hear, I'd like to return to my room, please. Eddie nods, steps back to let him stand, and follows him out of the common room, her taser still clipped to her hip. All the way, Aaron says, raising his head again. This is fucking ludicrous, right? You see that, yeah? Your solution to toxic masculinity or chronic dick-waggling syndrome or whatever the fuck is wrong with me is to make me into a girl. Monica shrugs. Yes. Stefan, Aaron turns to face him. Do you have anything to say about this? At all? I'm still processing it, Stefan says, caught out. Of course you are, Aaron says. I take it from Adam's exit that I'm allowed to go, that going to my room and staying there, sans handcuffs, is an option. Let's go then. Stefan does his best to avoid Aaron's glare as the boy leaves, walked out of the room at taser point. That last part could have gone better. With just him and Martin remaining, the sponsors visibly relax. Eddie returns from delivering Adam to his room. Monica hops down off her stool and walks over to her. Christine's eyes flickers down to him at Stefan's again, and he does his best to answer the question he sees there silently, with a quick quirk of his eyebrows because Martin is looking at him and he still has a role to play. Why is Martin looking at him? He excuses himself from Pippa, who half-heartedly waggles her taser at him and joins Martin at his table. Ella nods to the both of them and joins Christine and Pippa, leaving them alone. I saw you laughing, Stefan says, after Martin doesn't say anything. Kind of laughing, anyway. What was so funny? Martin smiles. It's a bitter smile and quite shallow, but it's not as disturbing as it might have been had Stefan not observed the Dower man's mood unaccountably improving over the last few days. I was right, he says. About what? Martin rests his chin on his hand. About this, Stefan. About their plan for us. You didn't tell anyone? Neither did you, Martin says. Stefan, perpetually wrong-footed this morning, can only answer, What? I know you saw this coming too. You're just gonna let this happen then? Ignoring the accusation. I saw more pushback from bloody Adam than you. Martin gestures towards the assembled sponsors. It's like you always say, they have the tasers and the keys. Besides, I don't think they're wrong, necessarily. That is emphatically not in Stefan's script. About rehab through womanhood? He says. I wasn't just a drinker who had a bad accident one day, Martin says, meeting Stefan's eyes with a steady gaze as he's ever seen on the man. She could have put me up on the screen, and sure, my list wouldn't have been as long as Aaron's, but the fact remains that I've always gotten away with things. Because of who I am, who my parents know. I'm borderline aristocratic, and I hate it. I'm just not strong enough to push back against it, except in the most terminal way, if you get my meaning. As weird as it is to say, coming here might have saved my life, for all that there's anything here to save. But, Stefan says, unable to let the thought go, you don't want to be a woman, right? Martin's eyes harden, and his hands, placed harmlessly on the table, tighten into fists. But he relaxes again before Stefan can respond, returning to his former equanimity. Stefan, I don't want to be anything. 2 days ago, Abby gave Christine the address of a restaurant in St. Helensworth. Today, it turns out to be a pub, the Fallen General, hooked deep into a back street deep in the winding alleys that spread out from the river like cobbled veins. According to the menu, the pub is named after a poorly anchored statue, erected in the centre of what is now a small roundabout, which blew over and washed away in a flash storm sometime in the late 19th century, taking the memory of whichever luminary it commemorated with it. The head, neck, and shoulder of the statue, recovered decades later, are on display under a reinforced glass dome, positioned amid the spirits behind the bar, looking out on the patron with worn, faded eyes. The fallen general, with its exposed wooden beams, generous outside seating, cutesy signage, and desecrated conversation piece, is as much a tourist pub as it is a drinking pit for locals, and as such, it contains on a bright Saturday afternoon about as many people with backpacks as without. It's probably why Abby picked it. Good camouflage, or perhaps good witnesses. But for what? How did disclosure go? Abby asks. Christine swings down onto the bench next to her. She staked out a table by the front window, the better to nervously stare out of it, and spotted Christine before Christine spotted her, waved at her with fake enthusiasm. Abby's nervous and she's trying to hide it. Could have been worse. Monica victimized Aaron, not unfairly considering his rap sheet. He was probably the best case study to make the point she wanted to make. It had still been hard to watch the boy crumple up in his seat. There was a bit of shouting, and then one by one, all the boys got escorted back to their rooms while everyone else stayed behind to chat with Steph. I made my excuses. No riots then? No. I doubt it'll go as well this afternoon when they tell the guys in the cells. Abby smirks. If they riot, the worst they can do is brain themselves in those metal toilets. You want something to eat? She shakes her head. I want to know what I'm doing here, Abs, and no, I'm still writing breakfast. I could murder a cook, though. Me too, actually. No, I'll get it. You sit. And yes, I promise I'll tell you what this is all about once I get back. She squashes as far back as she can to let Abby out and people watches while Abby arranges drinks for the both of them. She likes the atmosphere here. The place is reminiscent of the kind of pubs her mum liked and would drag her to when she was a child. Safe, rural themed, able to supply large baskets of chunky chips slathered in salt and vinegar. She smiles, picturing her mother digging in, the fat, greasy chips contrasting with the delicate white wine she preferred, and she kicks the table to dispel the memory. That was before everything, before it all went to shit, before her father started hitting her mother, before Christine disappeared and consented eventually to be remade, back when she'd had a family. Best forget it all, really. Fuck sentimentality, fuck memories, and fuck her mother too. She's here for her sister and nothing else. When Abby returns, depositing the cokes on the tables and sliding back onto the bench, it's impossible not to notice her hand shaking. You okay, Abs? I'm fine, Abby says, too loud. Okay, so, we're meeting a couple people for lunch. Just lunch? You're here for moral support. Mine or theirs? Mine! Define a couple of people. Abby stalls, takes a swig from her coke, and Christine elbows her. Remember how I said my parents hired a private investigator? Abby says and preemptively winces. I sort of contacted him. Abby. Yes, Christine? These people, they're your parents, right? Abby nods. Yeah, she says. Yeah, they are. They don't know about you, right? Nope. Do they even know anything about who they're meeting? Nope. What are you going to tell them? And is it better than the truth? Abby blinks, confused for a second, and then all the words come out in the rush. I'd never tell them the truth, Chrissy. You think I'm stupid? I have a story, and it's a good one, and you're in it, so please stay and don't run off. I need someone here, and you're the only one I can trust, so relax, Christine interrupts. I'm not running off, and you couldn't trust Dira. Not the way I trust you. I know you won't tell B. I'm merely very certain she wouldn't. She wouldn't. She's a sponsor. She has obligations. I'm an employee too. Yeah, but you're not exactly like scrupulously loyal, are you? Christine weighs her answer. Let's just say I'm loyal to the spirit, but not the letter. Exactly, Abby says triumphantly, and then wilts under Christine's glare. Fine, if this goes well, I'll think about bringing Indira in. Good. So you're telling a story. What's my role in it? Oh shit, they're here. Of course they are. Everything in Christine's life operates on impeccably awful timing. I'll wing it, she says. Is that them? She points at an older man and woman, both black and conservatively dressed and climbing out of a hatchback parked down the road. Abs, she prompts when Abby doesn't say anything. Is that them? What? Abby says, quietly and as if unsure. And suddenly, of everything, Christine pokes her again. Yes, sorry, it's them. And someone else? Someone else is climbing out of the back seat, casting a shot into the shadow cast by the buildings on the other side of the road. A man, almost definitely, in his early 20s, probably, and of about the same height and skin tone as Abby and her parents, as far as Christine can tell. With a practiced shake of his wrist, he extends a cane and puts his weight onto it with every other step as he rounds the car and joins Abby's parents. They cross the road together. "You have a brother?" Christine says. "No." Christine's out of time for guesses, because they cross the street quickly and head straight for Abby's table as soon as they enter the pub. She must have told them which table to look for. How long has she been sitting here? She smiles at them as they sit down. Abby's father opposite Christine, Abby's mother opposite Abby. The mystery man pulls up a chair and sits up opposite the window, effectively blocking either of them from leaving. No one says anything. Abby's parents are waiting for her to open, and Abby herself has frozen. "Fine." "Hi," Christine says, leaning into her voice training for a nice, clear, bright voice, forward in the mouth and high-pitched, feminine and friendly. "My name's Christine Hale. I'm... Shit, did Abby even give them a name? I'm with her." "Understood," Abby's father says. He pointed himself. "I'm Robert, and this is Diane." He's decided that Christine is the one in charge. Understandable, given Abby's complete silence. She's staring at the younger man, frowning slightly. Robert continues. "Carl, our investigator, said you have information about our son. Please, we just want to know if he's okay. Carl says he's alive, but..." "Oh my God," Abby says, quietly with such force that it shuts her father up. "Are you Derek?" "Yes," the man at the end of the table says. He matches her frown. "You would have been, what, 14 when I left? Goodness, look at you." "Please," Robert says, "if one of you knows something, you have to tell us. Or you've been leading Carl on a wild goose chase, so you have to know." Abby shakes herself, head to hands, and then she places her hands on the table in front of her, clasped, her knuckles tighten. Under the table, Christine places what she hopes is a calming hand on Abby's thigh. "Yes," Abby says, looking from her father to her mother. "Okay, sorry. Oh, fuck, this is so hard." Christine squeezes, and Abby glances quickly her way, smiling in thanks. She takes a deep breath. "Mum? Dad?" Then, absurdly, she suppresses a giggle. "Cousin Derek, I asked you here today because I wanted to see you again. I wanted to see my family again." She closes her eyes. "It's me." Abby's mother, Diane, leans forward, staring intently at her daughter. "What do you mean?" "I'm Gareth." She says it quietly, incredibly so, but for Abby it's a shout. She jumps like she just bit a live wire, and her breathing audibly quickens. Before anyone can react, she waves a hand to say she's okay. Diane's got a hand on the table, and Abby reaches out to take it, draws her mother's hand into the middle, and holds it with both of hers. "Yes," Abby whispers, "it's me. We thought you were dead." "I'm not, I'm just different." "Let me look at you," Diane says, and Abby holds still. She's wearing her hair out of her face for this, in her habitual bun, gathered in tight curls just above the nape of her neck and leaves her whole face visible. She smiles, nervously, tightly, with her lips almost pursed, as if expending a great deal of effort to keep herself in control. Christine doesn't know whether, if Abby had room to move, she'd leap forward, embrace her family, or run out of the pub and never look back. "That's you, Gary," her father says, at the end of the table. Derek leans on his elbows and just stares. "Yes," Abby says. "I see him," Diane says. "In her. I see him in her." Goodness, she shakes her head. "I'm sorry. I'm being rude. You must have a new name." Abby nods, but doesn't say anything. Christine's wondering if she should interject, perhaps even take over the conversation when Abby comes alive again, retreats from her mother's hand, sits back and exhales deeply. "My name's Abigail." She says, smiling brightly, smiling the way Christine's used to, smiling like her sister always should. "Abby," she adds. "I took the surname Meyer." "Grant not good enough for you," her mother says, but there's a tease to her tone, one that Christine recognizes from Abby herself. She looks from Abby to her mother. Abby laughs. No, it's good, but I had to disappear." "Gary," Derek says, grabbing Abby's hand. "Seriously, Gary." "Hi, Rick," Abby says. But call me Abby if you're gonna shout, please." "Oh," Derek lets go of her hand and smiles sheepishly. "Right, yeah, I know the drill." "What do you mean you know the drill?" "One of the guys at work is trans," Derek says. "Mick, he's a good guy. You met him at the..." "Tell us about him later, dear," Diane says. There's a moment of embarrassed silence, broken when Robert Grant slaps the table. "Right? Now that we're all over with that big surprise, why don't we get some lunch in, some drinks, and we can all talk about the last decade without..." He points at Abby. leaving out why you pretended to be dead. So what do you fancy, Abby? Roast beef sandwich like always, or you eat dainty little salads now like your mother? Roast beef sandwich sounds great, Dad, she says, and covers the sides of her mouth with a whisper to her mother. I skip breakfast. Robert collects lunch orders for all of them, and Christine agrees to try Abby's order of roast beef and cranberry sauce sandwich, and has her offer to pay waved away, and bustles off to the bar to find someone to serve him. Christine recognizes his attitude and the sudden necessary busyness of an older man who has something difficult to deal with and needs to occupy his hands so his mind can work away in silence. So, Diane says, Christine, was it? Christine nods. How do you know our daughter? Are you two, Oh no, Christine says quickly. We're friends. We're really good friends. Sisters, almost. I mean, not even almost. I think of her as my big sister, really. Then you must be a remarkable young woman. I try. How did you and Abigail meet? Christine's impressed. Barely a hint of pause before her daughter's name that time. She passed the question. Abs, you want to take that one? Abby nods. It's sort of part of the whole story. Why don't we wait for Dad to get back first? He returns a few moments later, but he doesn't want to talk about any of the big stuff until their food arrives. So they start with small talk about Derek's job. He's in quality assurance at a software company, and Christine's degree, until 4 sandwiches and a salad arrive, plus a large basket of chips, which makes Christine smile despite herself. Abby's story is simple and, like all the best lies, is constructed partly of truths. She was an unhappy child, a restive teen, and a disruptive university student, and then she came to a true understanding of herself after hitting rock bottom early in her degree. The fictions are that she left Saints for a long time so she could transition up in Manchester, where she met a young pre-transition Christine. Oh, Abby's mother says. You're like her then, Christine shrugs. On my best days, I like to think I get close. She's the kindest person I ever met, Miss Grant. Oh, do call me Diane. Christine didn't miss the half-second surprise on Diane's face. That her former son could be seen as aspirationally kind is perhaps almost as big a leap as the gender thing, which is ludicrous to Christine. She's seen Abby's file and read in mostly deep depression and the occasional self-destructive impulse, but the worst years of Abby's past are Abby's alone to share, and she's always preferred to forget her former self. Abby explains her extended silence by leaning to Aunt Bee's justification for keeping Dorley's resources to herself. She was helped to transition by a small collective of other trans people who have to guard their privacy very carefully, especially in this age of increased stigmatization. We've seen some very unpleasant things said in the papers, Diane says, nodding seriously. Nothing but nonsense in there, Robert confirms with a disgusted shake of his head. So she kept the secret to keep them safe, at least until she could complete her transition and leave. Does that mean you've had your, her father asks. Everyone at the table knows what he means. Yes, Abby says, I have. Understood, Robert says, swallowing. But when I was nearly done, Abby says, continuing her story, I met Christine. She left her abusive family. She was looking for help, so we helped her. I stayed behind to look after her for a while, and then I came back down here to finish my degree at Saints, under a new name. She joined me a few years later. Christine nods. She made this place sound so great, and, well, she really does feel like a sister to me, so I go where she goes. I should have told you about myself back then, Abby says, frowning, regretful. But secrecy was a habit, and also, I was ashamed, Mum. I treated you really badly, and then I disappeared without a word. It took me a long time to get over that, to realize how stupid I was being. We're going to talk about that, Robert says, but not today. I'm happy to have my son back, even if he's different. I always wanted a little girl, Diane says. She's been holding onto Abby's hands from across the table for the last 10 minutes, ever since the plates were cleared away, and it's only the alarm on Abby's phone that forces her to let go so Abby can extract it from her bag and silence it. They have a few more minutes, Abby tells them, but she's meeting a source for work and she can't be late, which dovetails neatly, as Abby no doubt planned, into a discussion about what she does for a living. She shows them her newspaper bylines on her phone and extracts as much parental pride from the remaining time as she can. They all swap numbers, Derek asking shyly enough for Christine's that she has to make a point of noticing a text she has from her girlfriend, which the man takes in good spirits. And they part with a smiles and a promise between Abby and her parents to meet up again in a few days, somewhere they can really talk, spend more time than just a few hours together. Abby deflects the question of where she lives as a topic for another time, and hugs are shared all around. While Abby's checking the bus timetable, her mother takes Christine aside and asks her quietly, "Christine, is she happy?" "Yes," Christine says, "she's happy. Not just that, but she's kind, thoughtful, and funny. She's helped me so much, and she's helped a lot of other people. She's a treasure. She's my sister, Mrs. Grant, and I love her." "Diane," she corrects with a grin. "And I have to say, I wouldn't know. With her, I can see with my son. Although I have to look pretty hard, but with you, I wouldn't know." Christine's starting to expect this from cis people now. Compelling argument for copying Paige and Vicky and becoming a cis girl permanently. "Thank you," she says warmly. "Do you think she'll find someone who loves her for who she is?" "That's not in doubt. She's wonderful, Diane." With promises that yes, she'll take good care of herself and Abby, Christine extracts herself from Diane Grant and joins Abby at the bus stop, waving back at Abby's family, who are standing around their car and fidgeting, seemingly about to come and wait with them. But then the bus arrives, and the Grants and Cousin Derek watch them alight with unmistakable tears in 3 pairs of eyes as Abby's family is gone from view. "So, I'm trans to Indira's family," Christine says quietly, settling into a seat and making a show of counting on her fingers. "And to your family too, and I'm cis to Lorna. Am I forgetting anyone?" "You could go see your mother," Abby says. "Be trans to her too." "I'm thinking about it. I said I'd think about it, and I'm thinking about it." "Not entirely accurate." "Good. How are you feeling?" "Honestly, like I just ran 5 marathons. It's going to take all evening for my heart to slow back down." "You did well. Thank you." "So did they, I thought." Abby smiles. "I knew they'd be okay with me. I hate the lies, but I've been thinking about what to say for a long time, and I know what they're like. Now that they have me back, they won't push. If there's holes in my story, they'll give me privacy about it. They always did." "Is this going to be a regular thing then, seeing them?" "Yes, I've got my family back, Chrissy, and I'm never letting go." "Oh, did I see Derek getting a little cute with you?" "You did. I mentioned my girlfriend. He didn't whine." "He's a good boy. Good man, now, I should say." "Oh, and about the name they call me." "I didn't hear it," Christine says. "I've already forgotten it." "Bless you, Christine." Stefan eats a late lunch in a common area with Pippa, Martin, and Martin's sponsor, Pamela. Pippa evidently shares Stefan's fascination with Martin's apparent ambivalence towards his upcoming and inevitable feminization and asks a couple of questions, none of which fill the picture into Stefan's satisfaction. The man genuinely does not seem to care. He leaves for a shower and nap after lunch, and Stefan follows a little while later, agreeing, for the sake of appearances, to spend at least some time in his room in case one of the boys, Aaron, decides to call on him. But no one does, and bored, he heads back to the common room to find Monica, Tabby, and Jane lounging on the couches playing poker. They offer to teach him and deal him in. He's terrible. He asks, during yet another hand in which he folds early, if Martin's attitude is unusual. "Not particularly," Jane tells him. "It's not every year they bring in someone so traumatized or guilt-ridden they submit willingly, but it's hardly unknown. They don't tend to stick around after, preferring to live away from the hall and make new lives for themselves elsewhere in the country, but all of them are, last as anyone looked, as happy as people in their position can be expected to be." "It still doesn't make sense to me," he says, dropping another hand of cards on the table, scarcely any better at poker than he was when they dealt him in. "I can't wrap my head around it." "Do you know what I think it is?" Tabby says, sitting cross-legged on the floor on the other couch, guarding both her cards and her pile of improvised betting chips, buttons, on the cushion in front of her. "I think it's because you're trans." "Oh?" Stefan says. "Explain, Tabitha." She's lying with her back on the floor, her head in a beanbag chair and her knees elevated. "Stress," she explained. Tabby suggested they put whale noises on the common room speakers to really help relax her, and Monica threw a button at her. Tabby accused her of trying to bribe the superior poker player. "Thank you, Monica," imitating Monica's lecture voice with a smirk. "I will explain. Steph, as a trans woman, your gender is pretty strongly defined, wouldn't you say? Something you've always been aware of, even if you didn't know what it was. I mean, dysphoria, depression, depersonalization, dissociation. It all comes from a pretty extreme body-gender mismatch." Stefan shrugs. "Yeah, I suppose. And I think, and you have to understand, I'm speaking from personal experience here, the opposite state of that is not necessarily being cis," Tabby says. "It's being indifferent." "What?" "Some people just don't care." "Very technical, Tab," Jane says. "Well, yeah, probably." Jane leans forward more to throw her cards on the table, game temporarily abandoned for the discussion. There are people who are guys solely because they are guys, and girls who are girls because they are girls. They have never thought about it. They don't have a particular attachment to the shape they currently are, the social role they occupy. It's just theirs. Like their car or their house, where they may like it fine enough, but if someone like us comes along and says, hey, sorry, it's time to move house, they just ask about the new address and for a week to box their stuff up. It's a tautological gender, Monica says from the floor. That doesn't help. Stefan's trying to imagine it. The idea of simply being indifferent. That's so alien to me. Tabby smiles at him. That's just it. Gender and the fuckery of it has defined your whole life. And there's a lot of cis people who feel the same, except without the dysphoria and the need to transition. They really, really feel like a girl or whatever, and they get really into being a girl. I'm sure you can think of people like that. Stefan shrugs. He hasn't known that many people. We don't get a lot of people like that, Monica says. It's practically an instant washout. It'd be pointlessly cruel to try and get someone like that to change. We go for the middle ground, Jane says. Boys who can change, even if they don't want to, whose identity, under the right cultural conditioning, is flexible enough. But yeah, sometimes we just get Martins who don't care, whether because they're like that naturally, or they've been made that way by guilt, trauma, blah, blah, blah. You'd think Declan was like that. He was a pretty big fucking question mark, to be honest, but he was a piece of shit. Getting him off the street seemed like a pretty potent priority, and we didn't even know about the rapes, just the violence. Jesus. No one else is going to wash out, though, Jane says. That's hardly a foregone conclusion, Janie, Tabby says. It is. Ignore her, Monica says. She's saying that because she got Declan and only Declan in the pool. Jane nods. I'm going to win 200 quid. So, Stefan says, the ones who aren't like Martin, they'll adapt? Yeah? How? You just do, Tabby says. You accept it. You move on. It's better this way anyway. She makes a show of extending her arms and flaring out the loose material of her sleeves, which are a bright cream white and contrast beautifully with her dark skin, even under the unflattering basement lights. Nicer clothes, softer skin, and the company's better. You learn to live with it, Jane says, when you have no other choice. And it's not like any of us were living nice lives before we came here. Remember, we don't just snatch guys randomly off the street. We put in the hours, do the research, go for guys who will benefit, who will survive. What would Will have to go back to? Tabby says. I hate the fucker right now, but it couldn't be more clear he's drowning in guilt and doesn't know what to do with it except to hurt more people, which makes him feel more guilty. When we're done with her, she won't be that guy anymore. Yeah, you don't hurt people he likes if you're happy. Masculinity is a prison, Monica says. We have the key. Stefan frowns. Do you ever wash guys out who maybe could change who they are, but not the way you do it? Not often, Tabby says quietly, but it's happened. We're better at avoiding that than we used to be. It seems like a high price to pay. Stefan doesn't say it, but Tabby sees it in him anyways. It hasn't happened for years, she says, reaching across the couches and taking his hand. We're very careful. He nods. There doesn't seem to be any other appropriate reaction. Well, girls, game's over, I think. Oh, Tabby says. Really? Jane says. Monica slips a band off her wrist and ties her hair into a ponytail. Really? We can't put this off any longer. Jane groans like a teenager whose curfew has been brought forward, but hops off the couch anyway, offering a hand to Tabby and pulling her up. You ready to give another speech, Mon? Jane says, aiming a swipe at Monica and missing. Stop. No, I miss Maria. Well, you can take it out on the guy that hurt her. Come on, she smiles at Stefan, gives him a tired wave. Nice to finally get a chance to talk to you properly, Steph. Hey, Eddie shouts, poking her head through the door that leads to the bathroom as the three sponsors head to the corridor. Are you? Yes, we're doing the thing. Make sure you tell. We know, Abby and Monica say in unison. They're supposed to tell the security guys where they're going to be, and I know they forgot. How's Adam? Stefan asks, turning around properly on the sofa so he can rest his hands on the back cushions. Eddie shakes her head. Not good. I'm giving him some privacy to pee, but she sighs, rolls her shoulder, pushes the tension out of her body. I really thought he'd do better with this. With what? Being made into a girl? When Edie nods, he adds, I'm sure he'll get used to it in time. Silently, he scolds himself for being too damn nice about all this. It's so easy to get sucked in, to be on the sponsor's side when they're offering him everything he wants, when he's just seen a list of sins longer than a supermarket receipt scroll by on the TV. Edie beams at him. You're sweet, Steph. Oops, gotta go. She ducks back into the bathroom, leaving Stefan alone in the common room. Adam's having trouble, and Martin doesn't care. What about Aaron? He was distressed during disclosure, understandably, and he hasn't left his room, not even to urinate. Worrying. He should check in on him. He should check with Indira first, though, before he goes bang on Aaron's door. He pulls his phone out of his pocket, sends her a message. While he waits for her to reply, he tidies the common room. Beanbag chairs in the corner, couches straightened up, deck of cards back in the cabinet, dirty plastic mugs go in the dining room for one of the girls to pick up later. He's wondering if there's a vacuum cleaner around. They must clean the place during the night or early in the morning because he's never seen them do so. When he laughs at how ridiculous he's being. He's cleaning the torture basement, voluntarily. Feeling rebellious, he drops back onto the couch and reads a book on his phone, studiously ignoring the dust bunnies in the corner. It takes a while for Indira to get back to him, and she does it in person. She gives him the bad news. Aaron's not eating or drinking. He's not watching a movie or listening to music or reading. He's not doing anything, just sitting on his bed, staring at nothing, and ignoring all of Indira's attempts to get his attention. Tapped him on his head, stood in front of him, said his name, waved in front of his eyes. I even put water bottles and cookies on the bed next to him in case he gets hungry or thirsty. I stopped short of actual physical violence, but I'm willing to try anything. You can't just leave him alone. This is a pretty big bomb that just got dropped on him today. Maybe he needs time. Time is fine, Indira says, leaning against the wall, as long as he takes even the slightest bit of care of himself. But all he's had today is a bowl of cereal and nothing even to drink since then. And if this becomes a whole 24 hours without food and water, we'll start have to looking at drastic options. And those are drastic. Strapping someone down and making them eat and drink doesn't help. It keeps them alive, but it's just more trauma. They don't recover. You get into a vicious cycle. The threat of it is useful, she adds, frowning. But if you actually have to follow through, you've lost. The answer's obvious. Why didn't I talk to him? He says. Aaron sitting cross-legged on his bed, surrounded by the detritus of Indira's attempts to get him to engage. Water bottles, paper plates with cookies on, a couple of wrapped cereal bars, and scattered cushions. Indira insisted repeatedly to Stefan that he doesn't have to do this, that this goes way beyond Beatrice's instructions for him, that this is sponsor stuff and not something that he should be taking on. But what other options are there? Despite everything, Aaron is his friend, and he's currently facing something that no one should have to face alone. Hi, Aaron says nothing. Indira let me in. I said I was worried about you after Monica really went in on you in the common room. That was pretty fucking intense, right? They're telling Will and the others now. Same speech, probably. I bet Monica uses Ollie as her example. Probably got a big chart of all the time he made his wife's life a living hell. Or was it a girlfriend that he had? I bet he had a wife and a girlfriend and is fucking horrible to both of them. He seems like the type. I kind of want to be a fly on the wall for that, and I kind of don't. After Declan and Will, I think I've had my fill of sudden, unpredictable acts of violence. I bugged Pip for details, but she just gave me one of those pamphlets and, I get the mechanics of it, I think. I just want to know why they think this will possibly help. Did you know those pamphlets are from the NHS? Isn't that ridiculous? This is a legit operation or something. Government funded, like what we're doing is on the approved treatment list put up by the World Health Organization. Did you eat? I ate. I wasn't really in the mood. I was hungry and decided I could be scared shitless on a full stomach. There was meat in the lasagna, actually. I think they gave us a treat to make up for all the stuff they said. But it might not have been a good idea because after weeks and weeks of vegetarian food, I think my gut bacteria has forgotten how to deal with beef. I feel a bit uncomfortable. Aaron, Stefan says, taking another step closer. Talk to me. Why? Because I'm worried about you. Oh yeah, you want your little mate back, is that it? I'm just worried. Well, you saw it, didn't you? Aaron leans back on the bed, still cross-legged, his hands are buried on his lap. Up on the screen, all the shit at school, what they like to do to me. You want to know a funny secret? That's just what I reported. I stopped telling on them after a while. No point. No evidence, unless you count on me having bruises or needing to shower in my uniform to get the blood out, and all the little Lord fuckfaces and Archduke dickheads anyways. No one was ever going to punish them. And no, if you're thinking, that's his origin story, that's why he's a bastard. No, I threw that in Monica's face because I could. I don't actually believe it. It was just shit on top of shit. I wasn't even a good guy before I went to that school, and getting victimized there, I kinda thought it was karma for a while, you know? Aaron, you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about how they used to just casually hit me in the corridors, how they chased me down sometimes if they were bored, how they did other stuff, and I'm thinking, what if I'd been a girl back then? What if I'd been a girl like Monica and Indira and Maria all want to make me surrounded by these boys? What would they have done? How much further would they have gone? I know what estrogen does, Steph. I know what happens when you drain a body of testosterone. It's why trans women don't win Olympic medals. They're making us weak, Steph. Weak, and then they want to send us out back there, change so we have no chance of fighting off people like that. Women don't have to be weak, Aaron. For fuck's sake, Stefan, you're giving me that too? You're asking me to be fair and even-handed and glug the fucking respect women juice in the middle of all of this? Are you actually Indira in a shitload of makeup and a ginger wig? Sorry. Look at me. When I was smaller than most of the women here when they kidnapped me, and I'm only going to get weaker. It's all part of the punishment. It's what it is. It's one big power play, and in the long game, it ends with us dead, or worse, whatever we do. You don't think they're sincere? You do? Steph, that's the stupidest question you've ever fucking asked. And yes, it's fine. It doesn't fucking matter if they're lying or not, because tasers, locks, guns, etc. I know. But there's other ways to fight. Other ways to hurt them. They want me to take these hormone shots? They'll put me to sleep first. They want me to get another goserelin implant? They'll have to tase me. They want me to eat? They'll have to put a tube in me. That's your strategy. Make yourself miserable. It's not a strategy, it's a fuck you. If they're going to be like those boys at school, if they're going to hurt me for their own reasons, they're going to have to do what those boys did and hold me down while they do it. I'm not going to consent. I'm not going to salve their consciences. They're going to see me screaming when they close their eyes at night. I'm going to make them all into monsters. Just fucking watch me, dude. They can do whatever they want to me. They can grow tits on me. They can cut off my dick, whatever. They'll just have to live with it. They didn't say they were going to cut off. Jesus, Stefan, read the fucking room. Monica said all the way, twice. What do you think that means? They're going to teach us how to paint our faces and wear frilly knickers? No, they're going to pump us full of hormones until we look like the sisters we never had. Then they're going to cut off our fucking dicks. It's not just about a chest that I can wank with and a bit of swelling anymore. It's real. It's irreversible. And I don't think I haven't noticed how well you are taking this. What do you mean? I know why Martin doesn't care. He's practically anesthetized by his own self-loathing. Adam's probably putting all his energy into praying, praying maybe he wakes up somewhere less psychotic. But you, I don't get you. Okay, sometimes I do, he half smiles. Sometimes you seem just like me, but at other times, like now, it's like you're from another planet, like you're a stepbed wife, like you're standing in front of me as a distraction because you're in league with the insect queen and she's behind me, ready to implant her eggs. Why don't you care, Steph? I care, but what would I do? Don't give me that routine again. I don't mean that you don't try to escape. You're friends with these girls, dude. You and Pippa are practically brother and sister, and I've seen you smiling and talking with the others. It's like you like it down here or something. He's right. Stefan's act has been absolutely terrible. Beatrice echoes in his mind. Can't be the Judas goat if he's not believable. And if he can't do that for them, if he can't survive Dorley alongside them, how will they get through it? Aaron's already making plans to resist. They could really wash him out. You're so calm about everything. But how can he explain himself? How can he position himself as Aaron's peer once again? How can he sell this? They're going to do everything they do to you, everything they're going to do to me. So why don't you care? Aaron says. An idea occurs. It starts itching in his mind as soon as he thinks about it. A diseased thought that needs to be expelled. It's probably the worst thing he could do to Aaron right now. It's manipulative and it's cruel, but it'll sell it. Can I sit down? He says. Sure. Whatever. He clears aside the water bottles and cookies, and he sits in the bed next to Aaron, closer than Aaron expected, close enough for their thighs to touch. Aaron shifts uncomfortably, but doesn't move. I'm not okay with this, Aaron, Stefan says, breathing out heavily and slumping his shoulders. I don't exactly understand everything they're going to do, but I know enough, and I know that I don't want it. And yeah, you say I've been talking with the sponsors. This is a big fucking betrayal. They've been talking to me, acting like my friends, all the while knowing what was coming. It's sick. It's hard not to spit the word. Maybe they think we can all be gal pals after or something. I don't know. But what I do know is I can keep going. I always keep going. I'm good at keeping going, Aaron. I've been doing it all my life. All I need is a reason. He leans back on the bed, shoulders against the wall, hands cupped in his lap. He wants to seem open and honest, nothing to hide. When I was a kid and getting bullied, spending time at home was my reason. When Melissa disappeared, being strong for Russ was my reason. And when my friendship with him fell apart, studying was my reason to get into Saints. And when I was lonely at Saints, graduating and getting a good job was my reason. I've always had a reason to keep going, and I always make sure I do, because if I don't have a reason, if I don't find a reason, then I don't know what I'll do. So, Aaron says, leaning back, matching Stefan's pose, what's your reason now? What's good enough incentive to keep going when these girl boss psychos are ready to castrate you? Aaron's looking at him, so Stefan holds it. So Stefan looks back, holds it. 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Aaron opens his mouth and Stefan preemptively interrupts him, looking away as he does so. You, Stefan says. Aaron, you're my reason. It would have been nice if this had gone another way, if Aaron had accepted Stefan's affection, if they'd hugged it out, if they'd even, Stefan has to admit to himself in the most guarded corner of his mind, kissed. If Aaron hadn't recoiled from him, pushed him off the bed, hadn't thrown cookies and water bottles and pillows at him until he left, hadn't screamed ugly words down the corridor till Stefan burst into the common area and slammed the doors shut, quieting him. But he bought it. Stefan's okay with being forcibly transitioned because he's fallen for one of the boys suffering alongside him. An incredibly believable lie, it turns out. Indira and Eddie come through the dining room and pull him back up off the sofa, one hand in each of theirs, and they lead him out of the common room, up the stairs, past the security room, through that cavernous dining hall, into the kitchen where he spoke with Beatrice long ago. Pippa, Christine, and Abby are there, kicking her chair back and almost running for him as soon as she comes into view. Indira and Eddie hand him off to her, and he falls into her arms. She holds him until the tears stop. Gentle hands help him into a chair, and he sits, leans both arms on the kitchen table, and waits ineffectively at his eyes until someone, Abby, he thinks, passes him a box of tissues. I am so sorry, Steph, Pippa whispers, sitting him down next to him and rubbing the back of his neck. Indira puts a phone on the table, a view from one of Aaron's room cameras on the screen. He's eating, she says. Cereal bars. You broke his resolve. He's eating. You help him. You helped him. You did amazingly, Steph, Christine says, taking a hand and massaging his knuckles. Here, Paige says, passing a mug around, through Abby's fingers into Christine's and onto the table in front of Stefan. Hot chocolate, marshmallow. He threads his free fingers through the handle and drinks. He'll be okay, Indira says, sitting down opposite and smiling. And so will you. He blows on his hot chocolate. The reflected heat is nice, eases the soreness around his eyes and the salt-dry skin on his cheeks. He imagines he's red all over, his fair and lightly freckled complexion burning. I hope so. You will. We're all here for you. Forget what Aunt B asked of you, Paige says. She's still standing by the microwave as she heated the milk and looking down at him with crossed arms. Don't burn yourself out trying to help people that don't want to be helped. That's our job, Indira says. I want to help him though, Stefan says. And you did. He's eating. He'll get through this. And, Indira adds, glancing at Eddie, just because we don't want to strap him down doesn't mean we won't if we have to. He's only hurting himself. And he won't do that forever, Christine says. It reminds me of me a little after the orgy. He'll work it out. Even if it gets worse for him before it gets better, it will get better. It's still a little alarming to remember that they're all in on it. One of the other sponsors, someone attached to the second or third year, someone he's seen around in ancillary roles but doesn't know by name, passes through the kitchen on her way out, smiles at him as she goes. Another product of Dorley. Another woman who might once have been strapped down, made to drink water, made to eat, made to accept injections, been mutilated. Another one who is like the rest, in on it. Another one who's happy now. Aaron throwing things, sending him away, rejecting his help and yes, his affection. Screw him. There's too much evidence casually walking the halls of Dorley that says he'll be okay eventually, that he'll live in some form or another, and that's all that matters. Stefan can't spend every waking minute worrying about him. He wipes his eyes again and drinks his hot chocolate. The girls slowly scatter, Christine and Paige up to Christine's room. "You should drop by sometime," Christine said on her way out, "and I'll show you the view from the second floor." Abby out on some errand and Indira back down to the security room keep an eye on Aaron and Adam and Monica and link up with Monica and the others. Eddie sits down next to him, and when it's just the two of them left in the kitchen, we were going to take you down too, she says, to meet with Monica and watch the footage of the second disclosure. Get your thoughts on it, but I think that can wait, don't you? He nods. It's about all he has energy for. He's emptied out, exhausted from stress, from crying, from Aaron. Eddie gets him some coffee and toasts him a bagel and eats with him. Various other women pass through the kitchen as he eats. Two of them, a pair of girls named Faye and Rebecca, tell him how exciting it is to have him around and ask him if Christine's a good dancer. He has to admit, at the party where they met, they mainly drank, smoked, and wandered around a half-complete building site together. That's cool too, Faye says. Say hi to Christine from us when you see her next, Rebecca says, as the sponsor collects them and escorts them out of the kitchen into the main hall. Edie explains that, as second years, they don't yet have run of the place. But they seem so normal, he says. You should have seen them a month ago. This place is nominally a dorm for adult students, but sometimes it's like a hostel for horny adolescents. He finishes his bagel and coffee, cleans his face with a moist wipe Eddie offers. Aaron, she says, you love him, don't you? He screws up the wipe and drops it onto the empty plate. I don't know, he says. Maybe not. I feel protective of him, despite what I saw on the screen today. Despite everything. Don't overanalyze it. Lots of us formed attachments down there, and with only a few exceptions, none of us were exactly great people either. It's okay to love a bastard, Steph. Here, bastards reform. Why do I like him, though? Of all the people, of everyone he's ever met, why Aaron? He's been chewing on that thought along with his bagel, and he's come up with nothing. Why Maria for me? Edie leans on her wrist, smiling wistfully. I've been here a long time, Steph, off and on. Known Maria longer than I've been a woman, and my goodness, we were not friends to begin with. Emphatically not. I was one of Aunt Bee's first, you know. Things were still a bit rough back then. I spent 18 months in the basement under Maria and Bee's authority. Had a rather hard time. So after I graduated, I avoided her. Through my first sponsorship, I mainly interacted with her by text message. And then when I got restless and left back in 2013, I didn't even say goodbye. Just left. Did my resignation by phone. But in the end, I came back. And I missed this place. Because why wouldn't I? She makes a show of looking around the kitchen, taking the microwave food processor Aga. We have all the fancy equipment, she sighs. When I got back, things were different. More relaxed. Nicer. And it had been so long since she was in the face of my rehabilitation. I couldn't see her that way anymore. That's when I finally started talking to her properly. Eddie's staring at the distance now, into memory. She apologized. I told her it wasn't necessary. I told her that I did things out there in the world as Edith that I never could have done before. I had experiences that I never could have had. I thanked her. And it was the first time that we so much as hugged. But it took us until this year to get together. It was just finally the right time for it. We were both ready, and sometimes that's all it is. It's the right time, the right place, it's the right person. No matter how unlikely any of those seem, and you fall in love. Maybe. Do you think your affection for him will survive the changes he's going to go through? I'm more worried that he won't survive. He will, Edie says. He'll live and he'll be a woman. Are you okay with that? For his sake, no. Never in a million years will I be okay with that. And if he comes to accept it, embrace it like I did? Steph sighs, imagines once again, Aaron in a year's time. It's difficult. He can't get around the idea that he won't make it, that he'll wash out. He'll be one of Dorley's check marks in the failure column. I don't understand how you lot work, he says, even though you all keep taking a run at explaining it to me, but yeah, I get what you're asking. And I don't know. Maybe. Come on, Edie says, standing, pushing a chair back, holding her hand out for Stefan. Maria wants to see you. Because of today? She just wants to touch base, Edie rolls her eyes. And she's a compulsive meddler who's probably watching us right now. She looks up and blows a kiss out of the almost perfectly disguised camera set into the corners. But not because of today, no, it's just that you haven't really had a chance to talk yet. Come on. Stefan consents to being dragged out of his chair, and Ida lets go of his hand and she spins him around and scrutinizes him, screwing up one eye and grinning. Your changes are well underway, Steph, and it's not just on your chest. Have a look at your face later. Have a look at your whole body. That's something I prefer not to do. Not for long, Edie replies and grabs his hand again, subtly energetic. She pulls him along, not through the double doors into the hallway like expected, but back through the dining hall and into a corridor on the other side. There's a staircase in the back of the building, and as they ascend, he catches glimpses of the woods through circular windows. He laughs. On one side of Dorley Hall, there's the university, more built up every year. Full activity, even at night, and on the other side, only silent trees. He thinks of home, the suburbs at the end of the street that he used to live in with his family, with Melissa and Russ. The little places they would escape to study, to talk, a little piece of safety before Melissa came here and Russ stopped talking to him and his parents moved away. Careful, Steph. You don't want this place to start feeling like home. Edie leads him off the stairs into an L-shaped corridor with frosted glass doors on either end, an isolated space, a small section cut off away from the rest of the third floor. Christine said that ordinary students who have nothing to do with the program and no idea what happens to their basement live up here, on the other side of the locked doors, no doubt. My room, Edie says, pointing. Monica's, Tabby's. B's down on first, and the rest of the sponsors are scattered all over the place. But we're the oldest, so we get the nicest rooms. And here, with ceremony, she opens the door in front of them, is Maria's flat. And my home away from home, she adds in a whisper. I can hear you gossiping, Edith, Maria says. I'm not gossiping, I'm being informative. Maria's flat is larger than Stefan expected. The main room is laid out as a bedsit, with a large bed on the left, which contains Maria, and a living and studying area on the right. An open arch on the nearest wall leads to a kitchen, and against the far wall, on the other side of the bed, the doors open into what looks like a utility room. She has her own washing machine, decadence, and a bathroom. Hi, Steph, Maria says. As Stefan approaches the bed and sits in the office chair Edie directs him to, he notices her eyes are sharp and her smile steady. Good. Maybe this view will replace the one of her head hitting the floor in his dreams. Hi, he says, returning her smile. Nice place. There's a framed picture up in the utility room above the toilet, and you can almost make it out, but the light from Maria's bedside lamp reflects off the glass and obliterates the image. Edie, when she sits down on the other side of the bed, reaches behind her and quietly closes the door. Right, it's probably not polite to stare at a woman's toilet, even if she has, second only to her speechless herself, the power of life and death over you. Double especially if she's convalescing. I wanted to touch base, Maria says, and hey, she makes a grab for the laptop, which Edie, taking advantage of a distraction, has snapped off her lap. No work, Edie says, holding the computer out of reach. I was just checking, Ed. You were meddling. Everything's fine. What's this about Aaron hiding in his room? What's Indira doing about it? Monica? Ignore her, Seth. She's just being smug that it took 3 of us to take over her duties, which I have since I got back. Edie wags a finger at Maria, been trying to imply that means that she's been overworked this whole time. I was thinking of getting him up on the intercom. No. I just want to check in with him. No. Fine, Maria dismisses Edie, turning away from her with only the barest hint of a smirk. Edie closes her eyes, places the laptop out of reach, and heads over to the kitchen area. How are you, Steph? Maria says. He says. How is he? A bit shaken? I didn't think Aaron would take it so hard. After all, he adapted to the chess thing pretty quickly. It's always different after disclosure, Edie says from the kitchen. She pours her water from a filter jug into a kettle. The fact that it's permanent is a shock to the system, Maria says. An intentional one, I should say, and the first of many. That seems a little cruel, Stefan says, to drop it on them and just let them deal. Maria shrugs. Don't forget, we're not just changing them physically, we're changing them mentally too, helping them to become better people, at the point of a taser. The process isn't pleasant, but it works. So everyone keeps saying, and I know I don't have to like it, I just have to be the Judas goat. About that, Maria leans forward and fluffs up some of the pillows behind her to better support her head as she sits up. Auntie didn't make the greatest of impressions on you. I know. We've asked her to back off. Leave you alone for a while. We? Pippa and me, with reinforcements from Christine, Abby, Indira. You've got quite the fan club up here. She tries. She really does, but she's had a rough life and her instincts aren't always the most helpful. She believes in protection above all else. It can really make her lose sight of her ideals, make her forget who we should be protecting, because it's not just ourselves. What are you saying? I'm not saying don't be the Judas goat. If you're going to be down there transitioning alongside the others, you're going to be around them all the time. It's not practical to pretend to be horrified by everything all the time, and I hope you won't be offended if I say your acting skills are in need of development. No argument there. What I'm saying, she glances at Edie, who is pouring tea from a pot into 3 mugs, is that you should have the chance to get out of there permanently. Do you have permission for that, babe? Edie says. Nope, Maria says, smacking her lips with satisfaction on the plosive. My plan is to move fast and break things. Please don't move fast, Maria. Not in your condition. Steph, milk and sugar? Just milk, please, Stefan says. Turns back to Maria. What do you mean, get out of there? I mean, Maria says, accepting a mug from Edie and wrapping her fingers around it, is that we can pretend to wash you out. Wouldn't be hard to make it nice and believable for the boys. We get you a room somewhere in the building on the first or second floors, which is secure, and you can have a normal, boring transition away from all the chaos downstairs. You think Aunt B would go for that? Edie says. She's passes Stefan a mug. It's just about cool enough to hold. She added a lot of milk, and she takes her around to her own chair on the other side of the bed. Maria juts out her lower lip like a pouting child and says, yes, of course, because I have a head injury. I could ask her for my own helicopter and she'd be texting Els for the funds before the evening's out. I could get 2 if I started dripping blood again. Edie reaches out and gently rubs Maria's head over the bandana-style bandage. What did I tell you about dark jokes? Maria grabs Edie's wrists and strokes her hand with her thumb. That I should try to cut down? Stefan says, unwilling to interrupt them, but needing rather urgently to make his point. It's nice to be invited up here, but what about Aaron? What are we going to do about him? Edie frowns. Didn't he reject you pretty roundly earlier? Doesn't mean I'm not still fond of him. Doesn't mean I want him to struggle with all of this, and he will. He doesn't get on with any of the other boys. He thinks Will's a wanker, and Adam's a weirdo, and he hates Martin, and Raph, and Ollie. Unless they've become very different people over the last couple of days, they're actively antagonistic towards him. Not only that, but he's got a history of being stuck in an environment he can't leave with a bunch of boys. Boarding school was basically hell for him, and I know that because I'm literally the only one he's opened up to. Stefan shrugs. And honestly, if he's wary for me after a while, after what happened, don't think about it, Steph, then it makes it easier for me to be objective, to help him without dying of guilt. You think you can do that? Stay down there, be around him, around all of them. You were having a pretty hard time before. He takes a sip of tea. The mug says, amid stylized clip art of dresses, if you lived here, you'd be a girl by now. Of course it does. I can back off. Let Indira mostly interact with him. She can do the sponsor stuff, the day-to-day stuff, force feed him if she needs to even, but I'm not leaving him all on his own. Even if he never speaks to me again, it'll just be better for him to see me dealing with it. There needs to be someone down there, someone he doesn't... Stefan swallows a lump in his throat and tries again. Someone he doesn't hate. Someone so he can see it's possible to cope with what's coming. I couldn't live with myself if I abandoned him. He shrugs, pretending greater indifference than he feels. It would be so nice to turn his back on everything and transition like a normal girl. It's up here somewhere. So I'm saying, sorry. Maria nods. Then let us know if there's anything we can do to help. When we say you're one of us now, we mean it, and we support our own. I mean, Stefan says, looking around, time away from the basement is nice. Yes, Maria says, it really is. She drinks her tea and scrutinizes him. In her mug, it says, in large red letters, gone feminizing. But the caricature of a fisherwoman is mostly hidden by Maria's fingers, which is a good thing. Stefan doesn't especially want to see what's hooked on the end of the cartoon fishing rod. Have you given any thought to your name? What do you mean? Do you intend to keep going by Steph, which mean, I suppose, picking some variant of Stephanie, or will you switch it out for something different? Stefan laughs. I haven't given it much thought. I kind of like being Steph, I think. Well, nothing's set in stone. Don't think that just because we got used to calling you one thing, we can't switch. We've all done it. Monica's on her 3rd name, Edie says. To be honest, Stefan says, it's a little difficult to think about. I can't really imagine who I'll be after all this. Feeling like a girl, it's hard. Difficult to get a hold on, you know? You're still having problems with dysphoria? Maria asks bluntly. He nods stiffly, tensing up just at the mention of it, and just as she goes quiet, biting her lip, clearly thinking about something, he forces himself to look around the room again, give himself something else to concentrate on. He finds nothing new, but he describes it all in detail to himself anyway, reviving an old game he used to play in class just so he didn't have to think too hard about the answer to Maria's question. Yes, he still has problems with dysphoria, thank you. Yes, when he tries to think of himself as the woman he's supposed to be, he finds himself almost unable to move, becoming so paralyzed by the tiniest of sensations that any motion might prompt drastic action. He's become unused to waiting these feelings out or chasing them away by himself or to think about something else. Anything else, no matter how trivial. The kettle in the kitchen, it's bright and red, has an oddly geometric design. He's not sure what he thinks when he pictures the platonic kettle. His would be shorter, rounded off, and an earthly, homely colour, dark green perhaps. Steph? Someone's trying to get his attention. Edie, she's waving at him. He blinks, smiles for her, concentrates on now. Can you keep a secret? I'm decent at it. Then can I tell you a story? One you might find interesting? He nods, wondering what she wants to tell him. I'm a woman, she says. Unequivocally and irrevocably. I was assigned male at birth, like you, like Edith, but except in the strictest, most mechanical sense, I'm not really a trans woman. I know some of our girls embrace that label, it's never fit me. She wiggles her hand back and forth, trying to indicate something like it's complicated. There's an implied gender trajectory there that just doesn't work, but she leans into Edie, who is offering her shoulder for support. I understand dysphoria all too well. Edie frowns. Are you going to tell her what I think you're going to tell her? Yes, Maria says, rubbing Edie's hand but not taking her eyes off Stefan. I don't know how much of the history you got of this place, but Beatrice didn't always run it. She took over 15 years ago. How she did so is a long story for another time. All you need to know is that before her, Dorley was run by the self-styled grandmother, the vicious old bitch for whom this was her sadistic little playground. It was she who transformed me, and her methods were more brutal than ours. She passes her mug to Eddie and rolls up her sleeve, rocks her arm left and right in the lamplight. Faint lines crisscross her forearm all around. Without the direct light, they'd be invisible. My captor, the one who brought me in, she liked to play around the vein, threatened to make her cuts deadly but never follow through, and she liked to surprise me with it. I'd wake up and she'd be there with the blade already cutting. Unlike most of them, she didn't seem to get a sexual thrill out of it. She just enjoyed hurting people. Hurting me at the time. Many dozens of women and men before me. All of us toys for her pleasure. Women and men, Stefan says, trying and failing to wipe the image of his mind of Maria under some faceless torturer carving into her. Despite what she does for a living, Maria's always seemed gentle in a pragmatic sort of way. The idea that Will's assault was merely the latest injustice in a life filled with violence is abhorrent. Yes, and that's what's important here. In the current iteration of the program, we encourage men, grown boys, really, given the general level of emotional development, to grow into women, to break away from the toxic masculinity that has empowered them to abuse others, which abuse them in turn. Yes? I have quibbles, but sure. Grandmother emphatically did not want that. She preferred men in women's bodies. She believed that for a man to become a woman is the ultimate humiliation, and for many men it absolutely is, which was exciting to someone as titillated by the concept as grandmother. She treasured the man behind the eyes, inhabiting a body he no longer recognized. She saw his panic, his all-consuming self-disgust, and she got off on it. But she discovered, thanks to B, actually, and a girl she was close with, that despite all her efforts, womanhood blossomed inside some of us. And so there were the rules, always being refined and adjusted, designed to keep us from becoming the woman they made us look like, and when that proved ineffective, designed simply to force us to hide it. The bitterness in her voice, at bay until now, overflows, and she spits her next words through with a sneer. To make us play along with their fantasy. We were punished when we named ourselves, or we treated each other as women, even in private. They started to hurt us for walking or sitting or standing in ways they viewed as too feminine, things that they would once have celebrated as humiliations. They got me on that a lot. Rules upon rules to dictate our behavior, to keep us male, because if we adapted, it just wasn't fun anymore. But we adapted anyway. It was almost fractal. And definitely farcical. A woman inside a man inside a woman. The picture of Maria under the thumb of a torturer is already enough to deal with, and is replaced by one of Maria and several other women. Stefan's mind populates grandmother's Dorley Hall with Edie, Monica, Tabby, and Jane, trapped in an ever-changing bestiary of cruelty, subject to indignities and violence he's glad he has difficulty imagining. He stares at Maria, trying to override his mind's eye with the image of her today, safe and alive, but his eyes keep flicking to her bandaged head, to the ancient scars on her forearm, and he wonders what else might have been done to her and the women she once lived with. Steph, Maria says. While he's been imagining horrors, she's been calming herself, and there's no pain left in her voice now. If that was too much for you... I'm sorry, he whispers. I'm so sorry, Maria. It's okay, Steph. She sounds so much like his mum when she skinned his knee as a kid. Reassuring, loving, like nothing bad could ever happen again. Memories fade, even the awful ones. Not completely, and she glanced at Edie, who rubs her shoulder with an intimate smile. Sometimes they come back with reinforcements, but mostly they're just memories. Is there anything I can do? He asks. It sounds idiotic as soon as he says it. With a quirk of her lip, Maria says, You're already doing it. You're here and you're listening to me. It's good to tell the story again. It's validating to see someone react with the appropriate amount of horror. Grandmother's Dorley. Christ, Aunt Bee's is the nice version. How many? He says, hoarse. How many people did grandmother take? Maria frowns, and Edie clasps her upper arm, comforting her. You don't want to know, Maria says. We do have the numbers. She continues, automatically, eyes on focus. Aunt B and her people did a lot of digging. We got most of their files, and there were stubs of police reports and things, missing persons, parole records. Her voice grows even more distant. She looked for her for so long. She shakes her head, fixes Stefan with a glare he wants to escape. You don't want to know. It is not worth the nightmares. Stefan nods. Nightmares seem inevitable at this point, but he doesn't push. Maria had seemed, if only for a second, even more vulnerable than she had on the floor of the common room. He can't stop himself from asking one more question, though. Who was she looking for? You said she was looking for someone. Oh, yes, Maria says. Yes, Valerie, Beatrice's friend. Valerie didn't escape, unlike Bea. She was taken away, and Bea didn't get out until months after. It's likely she's already dead. That's just awful, Maria. That's what it was like back then, Maria says, patting Edie's arm, leaning forward, reinvigorated. I survived in Grandmother's Dorley by understanding exactly what was being done to me and refusing to be broken, refusing to be ashamed of it. The more they tried to put me back in the role they wanted for me, the scared, cowed man, emasculated and afraid of nothing more than continued erosion of his masculinity, the more I embraced my womanhood. I chose a name. I invented a whole new history for myself. I created a new life. I asserted at every point, no matter how much they cut me, burned me, humiliated me, tortured me, that I am Maria. And their sad, angry little attempts to exercise their rage on me or entertain their pathetic fetishes meant nothing. And she leans even closer. This is my point, and this is why I wanted to tell you all of this. I know what it is to see a stranger staring back at me when I look in the mirror, Steph. I know what it is to want to completely escape my own skin, that I scream, that I tear at myself, that I throw myself into the walls until no unbruised flesh remains. I know what it is like for every word spoken to me is meant for the shell that I've been forced into. I know what it is to speak and shudder at the sound of my own voice. That Dysphoria, Steph. It's what they gave to me. It's the tool they used to try and make me into what they wanted. But it lies, Steph. Dysphoria lies, and you can choose not to listen, to fight it, to mock it, assert yourself, be yourself, because to give into it, to let it control you, is assuredly as repellent as any torture I experience. But, Stefan says, I still look and sound like, fuck that, Steph. Maria says with such vehemence that Stefan almost jumps. How you look will change. How you sound will change. Everything about you will change. And I know how much those things matter. How much they matter to you right now, because the hope of a happy future is difficult to hold on to when you look at yourself and you feel mutilated. But it's transitory. Your dysphoria wants you to believe that it's forever, and it's a lie that it will keep telling you, making you believe the changes you're waiting for aren't happening when they are. And you know another one of its lies? It wants you to believe the worst of other people. It wants you to think that it knows what they see when they look at you, but ask any of us who we see and we'll all tell you the same. We see you, Steph. We see Steph. We see a girl. The girl you were before you got here, the girl you are now, the girl who could not any more obviously be, and we don't see her out of pity or because we know the way you're going to change. We see her because she's there. She's you. And if you can't see her, well, I'm sorry, but you're outnumbered. You're a fucking girl, Steph. He doesn't know what to say to that. Doesn't know what to think about it. It feels like too much to fit in his head. Good thing he's sitting down or he'd be on the floor by now. As it is, his knees tremble weakly and his hands grasp uselessly at each other. Maria, Edie says, are you force-feminizing her? I think we've established that I have only one hammer and a surfeit of nails, she mutters and then grimaces. Sorry, Steph, I think I need some rest. Talk a bit too long, got a bit head up. Just fucking claim yourself, will you? You're a woman among women. Act like it. Tell your dysphoria the same thing that I told mine. You won't win. Name it as your enemy and kill it. She closes her eyes. Edie, can you make sure she gets put on the locks for the stairs, ground floor, etc.? Maybe set up a room for her, somewhere she can spend time with the other girls. I want her to have some freedom. I want her to feel like she belongs. Of course, baby, Edie says, rising and reaching out an arm for Stefan as she rounds the bed. Get some rest. Way ahead of you, Maria whispers. Stefan accepts Edie's hand, rises out of the chair and thanks Maria, quietly exchanges goodbyes. Those words, at least, are available to him. The rhythm of small peasantries is something easily recalled. Are you okay, Steph? Edie says, and she leads him out of the room. She glances behind them and sees Maria settling back in bed, closing her eyes, then realizes she asked him a question. Yes, probably. A lot to think about, huh? He nods. It's all he can think to do. Edie leads him downstairs, past a handful of sponsors eating a late dinner in the dining hall. Tabby jumps up out of her seat to give him a quick hug, and back into the basement. Indira, on duty in the security room, waves, and he waves back, almost overbalancing. He hadn't realized he was quite so tired, but he still hasn't gotten his thoughts in order. The journey back downstairs has made them all seem somewhat less immediate and less overwhelming, and he can function well enough to perform minimum self-care. You want me to call Pippa? Edie says when they reach his room. No, he says. It's okay. I'll probably crash soon. It's a long day. Okay, sleep well, Steph. She blows him a kiss as she leaves, and he summons the last of his energy to fetch his toothbrush and toothpaste, throw a robe over his top, stagger to the bathroom to clean his teeth. He watches himself in the mirror as he does so, a departure from habit, and thinks of Maria, trapped by grandmother, forced into a role that no longer fit her, play acting for sadists. It's a less visceral image this time. It really does help to remember that she's upstairs in her own flat, surrounded by laptops and silly mugs and her own washing machine, with Edie rushing back to her. The role that doesn't fit him is clear, and Maria's right. He lives in a house full of women who know exactly who he is, who would never treat him the way they would treat a boy. So why is he treating himself that way? Habit? When he gets back into his room, the computer screen is lit up. A message from Maria. It reads, I saw you squinting at the print I have up in my toilet. Thought you might get a kick out of it. Tell Pippa, Eddie, or Indira if you ever need anything at all. And remember to put yourself first. Leave the boys to us. Just be an example for them. Attached is an image, an idyllic sunset beach scene, overlaid with text in cursive. One night, a woman had a dream. She dreamed she was walking along the beach with her auntie. Across the sky flashed scenes from the last several months of her life, and for each scene she noticed 2 footprints in the sand. One belonged to her, one belonged to Auntie. When the last scene flashed before her, she looked back at the footprints in the sand and noticed many times along the path of her life there was only one set of footprints. In the lowest and difficult most parts of her life, it seemed, she walked alone. "Auntie," she said, "you said that once I came to you, you'd walk with me all the way. But when I look back at my life, I see that you left me to face my greatest hardships alone." "My precious child," her auntie replied, "I love you and would never leave you. When you see but one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you." "Thank you, Auntie," the woman said, looking back again and deriving great comfort from the view until she saw something in the distance, just before the longest stretch of solo footprints. Puzzled, she asked, "Auntie, what are those little lumps in the sand back there?" "Oh," Auntie replied, "those are your balls. Sorry about that." He doesn't know of its stress, exhaustion, or the relief that Maria, despite her injuries, despite her horrific history, is still able to send him something so ridiculous, but he has to cover his mouth to muffle the laughter. He laughs until his throat burns, his chest hurts, and his cheeks ache, and lets the enervation carry him, weak-limbed, to bed. On his phone, he finds a text message from Edie, letting him know that a room is being set aside for him on the first floor, and his thumbprint will take him out of the basement and up the back stairs, and one from Indira, thanking him again for helping Aaron, and one from Pippa, joking about their excitingly psychosexual relationship and suggesting they meet up for tomorrow night in his first floor room. He'll like it, she says, because it's the only one on the floor apart from Aunt Bee's flat that has an ensuite. He could shower on his own. Guaranteed. Finally, a message from Christine. A 5-hug emoji. A reminder to bug her on consensus anytime she wants, and a sticker that says, "You go, girl." It really is so much easier, so much more comforting to find community with the women of Dorley than with the men down here. So what's stopping him? His embodiment? Changing all the time. Aaron, he can help him without being such a constant present in his life. Dysphoria? If Maria can beat it, so can he. He remembers himself under the nurse's hand. Surprises himself with the memory. Doesn't know why it came up, but it makes sense, doesn't it? The nurse was from grandmother's time, then she was a part of what happened to Maria. Might have even participated in it. Did Maria stiffen as the nurse examined her too? Did she, too, try to make herself into an unemotional automaton? An unconscious machine of meat, just surviving, not experiencing? He remembers how he looked on the day the nurse was here, pink from burning himself in the shower and hunched and dysphoric after the examination. He's different now to how he was then. He understands this place better than the girls around here. Better understands what they went through and what will happen to Aaron and the other boys. He pulls his t-shirt tighter to expose his shape fully to the mirror. He was always too thin. Money and misery conspired against his appetite, but almost 2 months of regular meals and 1 month of estradiol has shaped him, changed him, grown him. He's fleshier in more places than just his chest. His hips are a little rounder. Is that why his legs and lower back have been aching recently? And his belly is a little less flat. Skin, once taut, now relaxing around the faintest suggestion of a shape. And his jawline is softer. His cheeks are more full. In all cases, it's the tiniest hint of change, mere millimeters, but it's enough that his reflection is comfortingly unfamiliar. They do all see him as a girl, do they? Maybe it's time to try it for himself. He closes his eyes. He tries to clear his memory and reset his image of himself. He thinks of Maria, the woman within the man within the woman, spitting at her captors. She thinks of Christine, Paige, Indira, and Abby, all of them standing where he now stands, examining themselves in the same mirror. He thinks of Melissa, not as he's seen her in the pictures on the network, the one he looks at most nights, but as he saw her that first time, nervous and new, at the supermarket where he used to work. A girl, still developing, still learning, but as kind and generous as she ever was. The bridge of his nose tickles. Oh yeah, his hair's getting long too. He blows at it, curling his lip to direct the air, but it keeps falling back into place. He runs a hand through it, smooths it away from his forehead, and he remembers now, years ago, in his old house, his reflection in the dark screen of his phone. Remembers the sharp bones of his cheeks, the waxiness of his skin, the greasiness of his hair that his mother made him cut. How foolish to remember that boy and think of himself as the same person, unchanged despite the years. How different he is now. He is different, isn't he? He bites his lip, still nervous, afraid that when he opens his eyes, in defiance of all logic, the same boy will glare back at him, the same teenager broken by secrets and self-hatred. But he can't stand here forever. Fuck it, if the women of Dorley can do this, so can he. He opens his eyes, looks himself up and down, and steps unconsciously back. It's too much. It's impossible. It's unreal. But there she is, the girl that all the others say they can see. A step forward again, fingers reaching out, making contact with the glass, making it real, making it tangible. "Hi, Steph," she whispers, and the girl in the mirror whispers back. End of chapter 19.